Chapter 974. All the pill masters who came out, except for Ning Cheng's spiritual storage bag, all the other pill masters' spiritual storage bags were completely exposed. They had a share of the profits with the City Lord Manor. Before exchanging the divine grasses, they had to hand over the divine grasses or Dao fruits belonging to the City Lord Manor to Lu Jiesheng. This time, 5 people had entered the 3rd layer of the Fantasy Fruit Garden, while 3 had entered the 4th layer. It could be said that Lu Jiesheng's harvest this time was very bountiful. However, everyone knew that this time, Lu Jiesheng had suffered a great loss. A total of 11 pill refiners entered the Fantasy Garden, and 2 of them didn't need to take out any divine grasses for him. Not to mention, Ning Cheng had even opened the 13th door of the Fantasy Fruit Garden. Being able to open the 13th door of the Fantasy Garden, even if Ning Cheng came out very early, the things that he obtained would definitely not be a trivial matter. Lu Jiesheng was a shrewd person. After collecting all the divine grasses and Dao fruits, he also sat down in the row for the divine grasses. After Lu Jiesheng sat down, he said with a smile, "Now, the transaction of divine herbs and Dao fruits will begin." Pill God Ning's harvest this time is huge. She even obtained some rare divine herbs. Let's start with Pill God Ning today. Ning Cheng understood Lu Jiesheng's meaning, however, he did not care about it at all. He directly took out 2 jade boxes and placed them on the table. "I have a thunder sound heavenly fruit and a fate extinguishing flower." It turned out to be Dao fruits and rare divine grasses. As soon as Ning Cheng took out the things, someone exclaimed in surprise. The thunder heavenly fruit was a very precious Dao fruit. This Dao fruit was a nomological Dao fruit that allowed one to comprehend lightning-type divine abilities. It was very valuable. The thunderclap sky fruit was also called the little thunderclap fruit. Although its value was far inferior to the big thunderclap fruit, it was extremely rare. The extinguishing fate flower hadn't reached the point of extinction, but it was also extremely difficult to find. It was a divine herb that was on the brink of extinction. The fate-extinguishing flower could be used to refine the silent dust pill, which could increase a cultivator's chances of comprehending the Dao birth realm. The transaction in the Fantasy Fruit Garden had just started, yet Ning Cheng had already taken out such a precious thing. From this, it could be seen that this transaction was definitely going to be a big surprise. "Pill God Ning, please name your price." A Dao Nourishment Divine Emperor who cultivated lightning god art said. If he obtained this thunder sound heavenly fruit, not only could his divine power improve further, but he could also directly reach the Dao transformation. No one could resist such temptation. Even though he knew that the chances of him getting it were very low, he still wanted to see the price. Ning Cheng cupped his fists. "My first choice is the dim star gold hidden leaf. As long as you have the dim star gold hidden leaf, even if you don't like the Dao fruit I took out, you can still ask for it from me." The guest hall fell into a brief silence. Although the dim star gold hidden leaf was not extinct, its rarity and preciousness were not lower than the fate destruction flower. Seeing that no one in the guest hall stood up to speak for a while, Ning Cheng's heart sank slightly. What he desired the most was not those extinct divine herbs, but the hidden beautiful star gold leaves. It's true that he entered the 13th door of the Fantasy Garden, and there were many precious divine grasses inside. However, he couldn't find the dim star gold hidden leaf. Therefore, he hoped that other pill refiners who entered the Fantasy Garden would be able to take out the dim star gold hidden leaf. However, the reaction from the audience disappointed Ning Cheng. There shouldn't be anyone who possessed the hidden beautiful star gold leaf. Otherwise, there would definitely be people who would stand up for him. "I don't have the dim star gold hidden leaf, but I heard that Pill God Ning is an expert in the spear Dao. I have a piece of void cold light iron. I believe that Pill God Ning can use this piece of void cold light iron to refine a peerless spirit artifact long spear. If Pill God Ning wants it, I can add 10 more Dao fruits that can help you comprehend the Dao sculpting realm. If you don't have this Dao fruit, other Dao fruits will do, but the grade cannot be worse than the thunder sound heavenly fruit. In addition to these, I also need 2 reincarnation tears." A long-bearded man with an elegant and refined appearance stood up and waved his hand. A piece of fine iron the size of a hill, emitting a cyan glow, fell to the ground. Although this piece of fine iron had a restriction over it, it still gave off a bone-chilling chill. Everyone in the hall stared at Ning Cheng with wide eyes. Everyone knew about the value of the void cold light iron. However, they didn't think that this transaction would be completed. 11 Dao fruits were priceless. What's more, Mo Wensheng was asking for an exorbitant price. In addition to the 11 Dao fruits, he also wanted 2 reincarnation tears. The reincarnation tears were also known as the reincarnation tears flower. Moreover, its value wasn't any lower than the Bodhi earth lotus. It was also an extinct divine grass. Even if this divine grass wasn't extinct, it was still stronger than most ordinary Dao fruits. Without waiting for Ning Cheng to speak, Jian Sanshan, who stood next to him, sent a sound transmission to Ning Cheng. Brother Ning, this person is Mo Wensheng from the Big Dipper 7 Peaks. This piece of void cold light iron is very famous. It has appeared many times in the past, but it doesn't have much use. I didn't expect it to fall into the hands of Mo Wensheng. There are many artifact crafting experts in the Grand Essence realm, but no one can melt this piece of void cold light iron. It's even more impossible for anyone to use this void cold light iron to refine a weapon. What Jian Sanshan meant was that this thing had a huge reputation and wasn't suitable. The reason he sent a sound transmission to Ning Cheng was to tell Ning Cheng not to trade. According to normal thinking, he would exchange 11 Dao fruits, 10 of which were Dao fruits that could help him comprehend the Dao sculpting realm, plus 2 reincarnation tears for a piece of material that couldn't be turned into a weapon. Even if this material was more precious, most people wouldn't agree to it. I'll trade. Contrary to everyone's expectations, Ning Cheng agreed to the exchange without hesitation. In fact, Ning Cheng had fallen in love with this piece of fine iron the moment he saw it. He knew that he couldn't refine the good fortune spirit spear right now. What he lacked the most was a long spear weapon. Now that someone took out the material to refine a long spear, it was truly a timely help. Ning Cheng had already heard of the reputation of the void cold light iron. It was a material that surpassed top-grade spirit artifacts and was extremely difficult to obtain. Most importantly, he vaguely saw some secrets within it. That is, this piece of void cold light iron contained a certain aura. He had felt this aura from the bestowing lawless fruit. He had only heard of Dao fruits, but he had never heard of Dao materials. Since Mo Wensheng took out so many of these things at once, how could he not be tempted? A material related to the laws of heaven and earth, just how precious was it? After Ning Cheng finished speaking, he waved his hand, and a big jade box and a small jade box flew out of his spiritual storage bag. Ning Cheng then opened the big jade box and saw 10 falling scar fruits neatly placed inside. When he opened the small jade box, he saw 2 reincarnation tears flowers inside. If it weren't for a special situation, Ning Cheng decided not to take out those extinct divine grasses. The void cold light iron was a special situation, and he had to get his hands on it. Not only did he need to refine a long spear for himself, but he also wanted to refine a weapon for Luofei. Luofei had a pure water spirit root, which was the perfect material for refining a weapon from the void cold light iron. He knew that Mo Wensheng wanted him to bargain. The reason he didn't bargain was because he saw Do Jiangshi staring at the void cold light iron with excitement in his eyes. If Do Jiangshi was still the pill sage from the Immortal Corpse sect, Ning Cheng wouldn't have cared about this fellow. After all, he might not be able to take out the reincarnation tears flower. However, Ning Cheng suspected that Do Jiangshi might have been possessed by the spiritual soul in the fantasy orchard. After Do Jiangshi and Jing Han's trio came out, Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness kept an eye on them. Since he had taken away the fantasy orchard, that spiritual soul might not have the patience to wait any longer. It might even choose one of the 3 pill sages who entered the 4th level of the fantasy orchard to possess him. Once Do Jiangshi was truly possessed and wanted the void cold light iron, Ning Cheng would have to pay a higher price to obtain the void cold light iron. Whether it was the spiritual soul or not, he didn't want to gamble. He wanted to snatch away the void cold light iron before anyone else opened their mouth. Ning Qing didn't think that the spiritual soul that wanted to possess him didn't have the reincarnation tears. One had to know that he had snatched the reincarnation tears from someone else. Seeing Ning Qing not even trying to bargain and taking out so many precious things, some people in the hall even stood up in shock. Some people's eyes flashed with a fierce light. Since Ning Qing had the reincarnation tears, it meant that he definitely had more extinct divine grasses on him. From this, it could be seen that the treasures Ning Qing obtained from entering the Fantasy Orchard's 13th entrance were inestimable. Otherwise, who would have the ability to take out 11 Dao fruits at once, along with the karmic extinguishing flower and the reincarnation tears? Not even trying to bargain. This kind of wealth, in the eyes of others, wasn't as simple as envy. Cheng Hotian gave out a sigh. He felt that Ning Qing was too reckless. Even if he wanted the void cold light iron, he should have waited until after the transaction. Big Dipper 7 Peaks Mo Wensheng also felt surprised. In terms of value, his void cold light iron was more than enough to exchange for Ning Cheng's things. However, it was just as Jian Sanshan had said. His items were only impressive to look at but useless. He didn't expect Ning Cheng to agree to the price he quoted. As long as Ning Cheng's counteroffer wasn't outrageous, he would still trade. But what he didn't expect was that Ning Cheng didn't even try to bargain and directly took out the things he wanted. Okay, I'll trade. Mo Wensheng's voice had not yet fallen when Ning Cheng rushed over. But before Ning Cheng could start, a cold voice arrived. Wait, I'll double the price for this void cold light iron. How could Ning Cheng listen to Do Jiangshi's words? He had already put away Mo Wensheng's void cold light iron into his ring. At the same time, he swept his things in front of Mo Wensheng. Do Jiangshi's words made him even more certain that this fellow from the Immortal Corpse sect had been possessed. That spiritual soul's vision was truly not bad. He even chose such a zombie to possess. Even if he didn't choose Jing Han, choosing Lesham was still better than choosing Do Jiangshi's zombie face, right? Did you just say that you were willing to pay double the price? Mo Wensheng reacted and stared at Do Jiangshi. Do Jiangshi gave a cold snort. You take it back, and I'll give you 3 times the price. While talking, Do Jiangshi raised his hand and brought out a pile of falling scar Dao fruits. At the same time, 6 reincarnation tears flowers appeared on the table. He felt a little annoyed in his heart. He was just a breath too slow, and Ning Cheng's hand had already reached him. If Ning Cheng hadn't put away his things, he could have definitely competed against Mo Wensheng. But now that he had already made an offer, he might as well disgust Ning Cheng and pull some hatred towards him. Chapter 975. Ning Cheng sneered in his heart. Do Jiangshi should have realized that he had recognized him. Therefore, he didn't hide it anymore and didn't hesitate to take out the Dao fruits and the extinct divine grasses. That's right, this guy's power in the Immortal Corpse sect is much greater than mine. Elder Shi. Chun Fei looked at Do Jiangshi in disbelief. He couldn't believe that Do Jiangshi had obtained so many precious Dao fruits. Second, he didn't believe that Do Jiangshi would take out so many precious Dao fruits and even 6 reincarnation tears to exchange for the useless void cold light iron. Although his cultivation level was 1 level higher than Do Jiangshi's, his position in the Immortal Corpse sect was not necessarily higher than Do Jiangshi's. Do Jiangshi nodded at Chun Fei. Elder Chun, don't worry. I know what I'm doing. Mo Wensheng's complexion turned even uglier to look at. He had initially thought that he was asking for an exorbitant price, but he never expected that Do Jiangshi would offer 3 times the price of Ning Cheng. Unfortunately, it was only a breath of time slower. If Do Jiangshi's bid had been a breath earlier, he would have never let Ning Cheng take away the void cold light iron. Now that Ning Cheng had already put those things into his ring, if he wanted to make Ning Cheng take them out again, then it would be somewhat difficult. No wonder even Man Huishan couldn't do anything to him. This fellow was truly cunning. The people in the guest hall became even more excited. Just how many extinct divine herbs and Dao fruits had appeared in the fantasy garden this time? Although Ning Cheng obtained it, Do Jiangshi obtained even more. Some people even suspected that Ning Cheng was the pill master who had opened the 13th Dao door because of Dou Jiangshi's appearance. Jing Han also stared at Dou Jiangshi. He also suspected that Dou Jiangshi wasn't telling the truth. It was very likely that Dou Jiangshi had entered the 13th door because he had the extinct reincarnation tear flower on him, but Dou Jiangshi did not obtain it. Pill God Ning, someone's offer is 3 times your price. Mo Wenshang took in a deep breath and cupped his fists towards Ning Cheng. After all, the price was his own, as such Ning Cheng did not bargain. After Ning Cheng took out the things he wanted, he also agreed to the transaction. If Dou Jiangshi hadn't appeared, this transaction would have been a happy one. However, Dou Jiangshi's appearance made him feel unbalanced. Ning Cheng understood that Dou Jiangshi wanted to draw hatred for him. Most likely, Dou Jiangshi looked forward to a fight between him and Mo Wenshang. He smiled and cupped his fists towards Mo Wenshang before speaking. Sacred Emperor Mo indeed has ears everywhere. However, I don't intend to sell the cold light iron to this zombie-faced fellow. Mo Wenshang's face turned gloomy, unable to find the words to refute Ning Cheng. From Ning Cheng's words, it meant that he was the one who bought the things, and he had also agreed to it. Now even if he wanted to sell it, it would be up to him, Ning Cheng, to make the decision. It had nothing to do with him, Mo Wenshang. Seeing that Mo Wenshang could not bring himself to fight with Ning Cheng, Dou Jiangshi raised his hand and put away his things. Pill Sage Dou is truly capable. You didn't even enter the 13th Dao gate, but you still managed to obtain the reincarnation tear that we didn't even see, Jing Han said sarcastically. That's nothing. I also dug out the reincarnation tears inside. A Dao birth alchemy saint took out a reincarnation tear and said faintly to Jing Han. When Jing Han saw 3 people taking out reincarnation tears, his expression turned ugly. In any case, he was the most promising pill sage in the Grand Essence realm. What he couldn't get, others already got. What's his name? Ning Cheng saw a 3rd person take out an extinct divine grass, reincarnation tear, and immediately sent a voice transmission to Jian Sanshan. Jian Sanshan admired Ning Cheng in his heart. Only now did he understand why Ning Cheng didn't bargain at all. Now that Ning Cheng asked, he immediately replied, "This is Sang Zijua from the Desolate Spirit Palace, a Dao birth alchemy saint. I heard that he once entered the 4th level of the Fantasy Fruit Garden." Desolate Spirit Palace? Ning Cheng immediately thought of Ji Pingzhong, whom he had killed. Ning Cheng didn't expect to meet someone from the Desolate Spirit Palace again. He paid special attention to Sang Zijua and felt that this Sang Zijua was a bit strange. According to normal thinking, even if this fellow obtained the reincarnation tear, he wouldn't have taken it out at this time. If Ning Cheng hadn't confirmed that Dou Jiangshi's soul had taken over Dou Jiangshi's body, he would have even suspected Sang Zijua. In any case, Sang Zijua and Dou Jiangshi both took out the reincarnation tear to help Ning Cheng share some of the pressure. No one blamed Dou Jiangshi for Dou Jiangshi's actions. Not only did no one blame him, but they also greeted him warmly. When people learned that Dou Jiangshi and Sang Zijua both had extinct divine grasses, they, like Ning Cheng, became the most popular targets. Although the following transactions weren't as big as the one between Ning Cheng and Mo Wenshang, they were still lively. Ning Cheng traded out a total of 32 Dao fruits and more than 160 divine grasses. Apart from the reincarnation tear, he didn't take out a second extinct divine grass. The one who traded the most was Dou Jiangshi, who traded 221 Dao fruits and a pile of divine grasses. Even those who came to the city master's mansion would trade with him. One could even say that he was the most popular pill saint in this Fantasy Fruit Garden's Dao fruit transaction. Apart from the reincarnation tear, he didn't take out any other extinct divine grasses. Ning Cheng didn't reveal that Dou Jiangshi might have been taken over, as he wasn't sure about it. Secondly, with Dou Jiangshi's current popularity, if he dared to say that Dou Jiangshi had been taken over, he would become cannon fodder, which would give others an excuse to deal with him. After the Fantasy Fruit Garden's Dao fruit transaction ended, Ning Cheng received 160 million spirit crystals in addition to some of the materials he needed. This was because a lot of Dao fruits and divine grasses came out of the fantasy fruit garden. As long as one came here, almost no one would return empty-handed. From the beginning to the end of the transaction, no Bodhi earth lotus or 9 orifices spirit glass appeared. Previously, someone had used these 2 extinct divine grasses to refine the Bodhi pill and 9 orifices heart pill. However, no one admitted to it. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness never left Do Jiangshi, and he didn't know what this fellow had said to Immortal Corp sex elder Chun Fei. At first, Chun Fei looked reluctant, but in the end, he even came to help him with the transaction. Ning Cheng wasn't afraid of Do Jiangshi. This fellow was just an early-stage Dao transformation cultivator. Even if Do Jiangshi's essence spirit was stronger, Ning Cheng could deal with it. Ning Cheng was afraid that this fellow wouldn't come to deal with him and would just hide in the Immortal Corpse sect. As long as this fellow dared to find trouble with him, he would definitely snatch that wood-attributed God Spirit vein. He had been coveting this God Spirit vein for a long time. After the Dao fruit transaction ended, except for some holy emperors who had good relations with Lu Jiesheng, everyone left. Brother Ning Cheng, if anything happens, you must come to the Pill Association to find me. Cheng Hotian deliberately called out to Ning Cheng and said loudly. Ning Cheng understood Cheng Hotian's meaning. He wanted to support him. After thanking him, he hurriedly left the city master's mansion with Jian Sanshan. He wanted to wake Yan Ji up in a hurry. Several people watched Ning Cheng leave. They also knew that even if they wanted to deal with Ning Cheng, this wasn't the place to do it. Not to mention that Ning Cheng had Cheng Hotian's support, even Ning Cheng himself wasn't someone to be trifled with. If he was easy to deal with, would Man Huishan be helpless against him? Yu Xiu, you and Ning Cheng snatched the extraterritorial spirit spring stone gate. What kind of person do you think he is? Outside the Heaven Essence Sacred City's city master's mansion, a beautiful woman looked at Ning Cheng's departing back and asked in a deep voice. This woman was Cin Rushuan, the one who had asked about Ning Cheng's Bodhi Earth Lotus in the guest hall of the city master's mansion. She came from one of the top 10 sects, the Grand Essence Sea's Sunken Fish Palace. Standing next to her was a young and beautiful woman with an extremely fair complexion. Ning Cheng also knew this woman. Her name was Zhongmeng Yuxiu. She had an arrogant heart, but her strength was average. Back in the extraterritorial spirit spring, when she snatched the 10 stone gates, someone swept her from the 2nd stone gate all the way to the 8th stone gate. That was because Ning Cheng had killed Guahalga and suppressed Ji Pingzhong. Otherwise, she would have most likely occupied the 10th stone gate. He's very strong, and his strength can sweep away anyone in the same realm. But he doesn't know how to behave. His eyes grow on his forehead. Zhongmeng Yuxiu said with a calm tone. She clearly remembered what Ning Cheng had said to her. When she wanted to snatch Yan Xishuang's stone gate, Ning Cheng had told her that Yan Xishuang was his friend. If she dared to snatch it, she couldn't blame him for being impolite. Because of this, she didn't have a good impression of Ning Cheng. If I betrothed you to Ning Cheng, would you be willing? Cin Rushuan suddenly asked. Ah! Zhongmeng Yuxiu's heart started beating wildly when she heard this. She truly didn't have a good impression of Ning Cheng, but it was because Ning Cheng didn't give her any face and directly swept her from the 4th stone gate to the 8th stone gate. But it was impossible for her to not care about Ning Cheng, a powerhouse in the pill deity realm. She never thought about becoming Ning Cheng's Dao companion before. But now that Aunt Xian mentioned it, she suddenly had this thought in her heart. What would happen if she became the Dao companion of a powerhouse like Ning Cheng? Ning Cheng's appearance was much more handsome than Ji He's. More importantly, he was a powerhouse in the Dao of alchemy and a friend of Pill Union's Cheng Hotian. She didn't care about this thought at all. But once it appeared, it grew wildly in her heart like weeds. She quickly thought of Yan Xishuang. Yan Xishuang was more beautiful than her, and she was also an acquaintance of Ning Cheng. If Ning Cheng wanted to find a Dao companion, he would definitely choose Yan Xishuang first. It shouldn't be possible. Without waiting for Zhongmeng Yuxiu to answer, Cin Rushuan shook her head. That Ning Cheng seems reckless, but he's actually very scheming. I don't know what kind of deal he had with Man Huishan, but he could even put aside a threat like Man Huishan. He didn't care about City Lord Lu either. Instead, he made friends with Pill Union's Pill Sage like Ching Ho Tian or Dao Transformation Pill deities. Sun Rushuan paused and frowned slightly. After a while, she continued, maybe Yueshu will let him stay in the Sunken Fish Palace. This meant that Zhongmeng Yuxiu's charm wasn't enough to keep Ning Cheng in the Sunken Fish Palace. Aunt Xian, senior sister Yueshu is our Sunken Fish Palace's number one. Zhongmeng Yuxiu knew that she couldn't compare to Yueshu. Sun Rushuan reached out to stop Zhongmeng Yuxiu and said in a deep voice, not only do we want him to help us refine the Peace Bodhi pill, but more importantly, our Sunken Fish Palace needs an alchemist like him. If I'm not wrong, he's at least a Tao-raising pill sage. Since the Grand Essence realm shattered, it hasn't been stable. But now, the major forces in the Grand Essence domain have begun to stir up trouble again. My Sunken Fish Palace is just too weak. How is that possible? How can he be a Tao-raising pill sage? Zhongmeng Yuxiu's eyes widened. She couldn't believe Sun Rushuan's words at all. Sun Rushuan sighed, I don't believe my guess either. But my intuition tells me that I'm not wrong. He should be living in a cave on Sword 3 Mountain. It's not appropriate to go to him today. Let's visit him tomorrow. Chapter 976. Ning Cheng, carrying Yan Ji on his back, took Xian Xiao and Wu Qihong out of the Sword 3 Mountains immortal cave and returned to the Dao-seeking rest stop. The first thing he needed to do after returning to the rest stop was to wake up Yan Ji. The Heavenly Five Elements fruit was the only thing that would not harm a cultivator's body. In order to not let others disturb Yan Ji's awakening, Ning Cheng deliberately added several restrictions around the room. He also told Xian Xiao and Wu Qihong to refuse all visitors. The Five Elements heavenly fruit was milky white in color and emitted a faint fragrance. Ning Cheng opened the jade box and took out a Five Elements heavenly fruit. He then raised his hand and cast a clear water technique onto the Five Elements heavenly fruit. Ning Cheng was probably the only person who would use the clear water technique to wash the Dao fruit after eating it. If it was anyone else, they would never use the clear water technique to wash their Dao fruits. As the clear water technique fell on the Five Elements Dao fruit, Ning Cheng's spiritual sense immediately caught a faint spiritual sense imprint. Ning Cheng felt surprised. Washing his Dao fruits was just a habit. If he ate it himself, it wouldn't have mattered. After all, this Dao fruit was for Yan Ji. Unexpectedly, there was a faint spiritual will imprint on the Dao fruit. If he hadn't used the clear water technique, it would have been very difficult for him to discover this spiritual sense imprint. Ning Cheng's expressions turned a little ugly to look at. Whether the spiritual sense imprint on the Dao fruit was Jing Han's doing or not, it had something to do with him. This spiritual force imprint couldn't be caught at all. If it weren't for his powerful spiritual force and the clear water art landing on the Dao fruit, he would have missed it if he wasn't careful. Ning Cheng raised his hand and rolled up this faint spiritual sense imprint, before sealing it in a jade box. He then took out another Dao fruit. Sure enough, Ning Cheng found a faint trace of spiritual sense imprint in the other Dao fruit. After sealing the two faint spiritual sense imprints in the jade box, Ning Cheng used his spiritual consciousness to search the two Five Elements heavenly fruits for a long time. Only after confirming that there was nothing wrong with them did he open one of them and put it into Yan Ji's mouth. As soon as the Dao fruit entered his mouth, it melted into fragrant fruit juice and disappeared. Yan Ji quickly consumed a Five Elements heavenly fruit, but Yan Ji still remained unconscious. Ning Cheng didn't take out the second Dao fruit for Yan Ji to consume. Instead, he just sat quietly beside Yan Ji. If this Five Elements heavenly fruit couldn't wake Yan Ji up, then no matter how many Five Elements heavenly fruits he gave Yan Ji, it would all be in vain. Time flowed by in silence. Ning Cheng gazed at Yan Ji's delicate and refined face, and in his mind emerged the scene of him and Yan Ji meeting for the first time. It was on the way to the Law's Way, when Ke Penghai, who had the cultivation of profound core realm, wanted to take the opportunity to kill him, in order to please Nalan Rushue. At that time, it was Yan Ji, who he did not know, who stood up and stopped K Penghai. Nalan Rushue couldn't understand why Yan Ji stood up to help him. She even asked Yan Ji not to meddle in other people's business. As for Yan Ji's words, he still remembered them clearly. Everyone's eyes represent their own hearts. Although it's the same thing, it's just that the things we see are different. After that, she invited a cultivator with the cultivation of essence building 4th level to join her team. Her approach made the entire team unable to understand it, but she still did it. After he fell into the Blood River Mountains, Yan Ji did not hesitate to rush into the Blood River, wanting to save him, but the result was that she also fell into the bottom of the Blood River. At that time, he only knew her, or rather, he had only saved her once in the Blood River Mountains. After he rescued her and Xiang Jilan from the bottom of the Blood River, because he did not come out, she once again jumped into the Blood River, and finally got lost at the bottom of the Blood River. Ning Cheng had seen a lot of people who were ungrateful or did not put such things in their hearts, but Yan Ji was like this. Even if it was just a drop of water, she did not forget to repay it, and even took the initiative to jump into the bottom of the Blood River several times. This was the first time he had met such a woman. After coming out of the law's way, he was chased by the 3 major forces. When her elder sister Yan Yu wanted to kill him, she only spoke a single sentence: "Whoever touches him, I will kill them." At that time, her sanity had not yet recovered. Saying those words was just a kind of obsession in her heart. In order to find him, she came from the Lu continent to the Tian continent. From the Tian continent to the starry skies, from the starry skies to the plains. She cultivated like crazy, regardless of the quality of the pills. As long as it could improve her cultivation, she would eat it. If he had not met Nalan Rushue, he would not have known that Yan Ji just wanted to improve her cultivation as soon as possible, and then go back to find him. She had agreed to undergo spiritual cleansing, just to bring a message to Nalan Rushue. Although Shue Yueka did not know what the message was, but Ning Cheng guessed that the message should have something to do with him. Ning Cheng looked down at Yan Ji, and suddenly felt that he owed this woman too much. What he had done for her was to take care of her in the law's way for a period of time. Ning Cheng's thoughts were getting further and further away. He gently picked up Yan Ji, and lowered his head, just to get a closer look. Surrounded by darkness, Yan Ji hid in a corner of the darkness. She felt a little cold. She could not see the light, she could not see anything, there was only darkness, and the cold death intent that permeated the darkness. She did not know how long she had been hiding in this corner of the darkness. She wanted to force her way out, but her body seemed to have turned stiff, unable to move even the slightest bit. Gradually, the darkness became darker and darker, even oppressing her soul. She found it difficult to breathe. She only had one thought in her mind, that is, am I going to die? At the moment of her death, she tried to remember some beautiful things, trying to make herself look forward to it before she died. But she could not remember anything, only a name kept lingering in her consciousness. She had forgotten everything, but she could not forget this name. Ning Cheng, that's right, Ning Cheng was very important to her. Why was he very important? But her thoughts could not stretch out, and could only be tied to these 2 words. She kept thinking about these 2 words. Suddenly these 2 words flew away from her eyes, and her memory gradually blurred. She was extremely anxious in her heart. These 2 words seemed to be the only thing she could remember. If these 2 words disappeared from her memory, then her consciousness and soul would also disappear. She struggled, trying to hold on to the only thing she could remember. At this time, a bright light emitted from the 2 words that were about to fly away. The light gradually dispelled the darkness around her, and she gradually saw clearly. The range of the light grew larger and larger, and her memory was like this light, slowly spreading, as if it was slowly increasing. Her world that was about to dissipate also became clear because of this light, and her heart unexpectedly gained a trace of vitality. She struggled to open her eyes. She could not let this opportunity disappear. As her memory became clearer, Ning Cheng's image also became clearer. With a strong will to live and Ning Cheng's name, she finally opened her eyes, and saw the appearance of Ning Cheng in her memory. I finally saw you. I said that when I saw you again, I would say that I would marry you. Yan Ji's voice was a little hoarse. Staring at Ning Cheng's eyes, she raised her head slightly and kissed Ning Cheng's lowered lips. Just as their lips touched, Yan Ji closed her eyes again and fell asleep. Yan Ji, are you awake? Ning Cheng asked in surprise. He had just lowered his head when Yan Ji opened her eyes. This meant that the 5 elements heavenly fruit really had its uses, which allowed Yan Ji to wake up. Yan Ji once again fell asleep, but Ning Cheng felt relieved in his heart. Yan Ji did not faint this time, but rather fell into a deep sleep, and would soon wake up again. Thank you, Yan Ji. Ning Cheng once again lowered his head and kissed Yan Ji's lips. He knew that Yan Ji did not really realize his existence, it should be just a subconscious action, or maybe she thought that she saw him in a dream. Ning Cheng's guess was right, Yan Ji did think that she saw him in a dream. After she fell asleep once again, Ning Cheng's appearance clearly appeared in her consciousness. She heard that before dying, one would see the person they wanted to see the most. No, her feeling was so real, and she really did come into contact with Ning Cheng. Was that not a dream? Yan Ji tried to open her eyes again. She finally saw Ning Cheng. This time, her consciousness was incomparably clear. Ning Cheng, is it really you? Is this really? Yan Ji's voice was still a little hoarse, with a hint of trembling. She had not even finished her words, when her eyes started to mist up, and Ning Cheng's figure instantly blurred. Yan Ji felt anxious in her heart. She wanted to reach out her hand to wipe away the blurriness in her eyes, but her hands simply could not move. Ning Cheng raised his hand and gently wiped away the tears in Yan Ji's eyes. Junior apprentice Sister Ji, no one will dare to use spiritual cleansing on you in the future. Woo! Yan Ji finally affirmed that the person in front of her was Ning Cheng. She really was lying in Ning Cheng's arms. She could no longer contain the loneliness in her heart, and tears started to pour down her cheeks. She never thought that one day she would cry like this. She had an independent personality, and had always borne it alone. She had encountered too many dangers by herself, and had seen too many life and death situations, to the point where she could face death with a heart as calm as still water. But now she could not hold back the sadness in her heart. Perhaps it was not sadness, but happiness that came from the depths of her heart, an unspeakable joy. Ning Cheng once again gently wiped away the tears in Yan Ji's eyes. When this matter is over, I will take you back to see Luofei. Yan Ji looked at Ning Cheng with wide eyes. At this moment, she finally had the answer to everything she had experienced. Her body also gained a little more strength, and she subconsciously wanted to raise her hand. Feeling Yan Ji's body getting softer and softer, Ning Cheng knew that Yan Ji was gradually recovering. Although she could not cultivate, but he believed that as long as he worked hard, he would definitely be able to find the hidden beautiful star gold leaf for her. Yan Ji finally raised her hand, and gently hugged Ning Cheng. She could feel a strong heartbeat. Her face also felt a little hot. This was the first time she had hugged a man while she was conscious. This kind of feeling gave her a sense of stability and peace. Chapter 977. Junior apprentice Sister Yan Ji recovered. Xian Xiu looked at Yan Ji, who came out with Ning Cheng, in surprise. Even Wu Qihong, who wasn't good with words, came up to congratulate her. Both he and Xian Xiu knew that Ning Cheng cared a lot about Yan Ji. Thank you, Senior Apprentice Sister Xian Xiu and Senior Apprentice Brother Wu. Yan Ji had already heard Ning Cheng introduce Xian Xiu and Wu Qihong, so she quickly greeted them. Ning Cheng shook his head. Junior Apprentice Sister Ji just woke up. Her foundation hasn't recovered yet, so she can't cultivate yet. I have to find the beautiful star gold hidden leaf before I can help her recover completely. Beautiful star gold hidden leaf? Wu Qihong repeated in shock. He and Xian Xiu were both alchemy masters, so they naturally knew about the difficulty of finding the beautiful star gold hidden leaf. If they tried to find it, they wouldn't be able to find it in a lifetime. Although they knew about Ning Cheng's abilities, they didn't think that Ning Cheng could find the beautiful star gold hidden leaf. Ning Cheng sighed. In any case, I have to find the beautiful star gold hidden leaf. Although Yan Ji couldn't cultivate, her essence, qi, and spirit were still in good condition. Hearing Ning Cheng's words, she whispered, "It doesn't matter even if I can't find it. I'm already satisfied." Big brother Ning, a man named Percy, came to visit just now. I asked him to wait outside. Xin Xiu said in a timely manner. Percy. Ning Cheng immediately remembered the second rank of the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children, the one with a face full of stubble. According to Jian Sanshan, Percy came from the mysterious Void Star sect. This fellow had looked for him several times and even helped him in the city master's mansion. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness swept out and found that Percy was still waiting outside. He quickly opened the restriction and cupped his fists before speaking. "Dao friend Percy, please come in. Because I have some things to take care of, I hope that Dao friend Percy can forgive me." Percy laughed and returned the greeting with cupped fists. "Pill Sage Ning, it's already a great joy for me that you can see me." Ning Cheng smiled and invited Percy into the living room to sit down. It was not surprising that Percy knew that he was a pill saint. Percy was probably not the only one who knew that he was a pill saint. After pouring a cup of spiritual tea for Percy, Ning Cheng asked, "Dao friend Percy has been looking for me several times. Is there something you want from me?" Percy awkwardly nodded, and then spoke in a dignified manner. "It is indeed so, because I would like to ask Dao friend Ning to refine a batch of heaven-extending bone vein pills." Ning Cheng's hand that was holding the cup of spiritual tea suddenly stopped. He even asked, "Do you want to refine the heaven-replenishing bone vein pill?" Ning Cheng naturally knew about the heaven-extending bone-marking pill. It was the most difficult pill to refine among all Dao transformation pills. Even if a Dao transformation pill sage tried to refine it, the success rate would be minimal. This kind of pill had only one function: detoxification. There were 10 most powerful poisons in the world, and the vein bone poison was one of them, ranked 10th. After being poisoned by this poison, the entire body's bones would slowly be corroded by the veined patterns. His primordial spirit was imprisoned in his bones, unable to leave his body. Some powerful sage emperors directly abandoned their physical bodies after being poisoned by the stripe bone poison. But after their primordial spirit and spiritual soul found a new physical body, or even reconstructed their physical bodies, the stripe bone poison would continue to corrode their bones like maggots in tarsal bones. There was only one pill that could cure the tattoo bone poison, and that pill was the sky-extending tattoo bone pill. The heaven-replenishing bone-marking pill was a Dao transformation pill with 3 main divine grasses. One of them was the golden cicada heart fruit. In addition to the golden cicada heart fruit, refining the heaven-replenishing bone-marking pill also required 2 kinds of divine grasses, turbid sky zoysia and azure frost nether branch. The value of the turbid sky zoysia and azure frost nether branch was no lower than the golden cicada heart fruit. They were also divine grasses that contained the laws of heaven and earth. One could say that the materials for a batch of heaven-replenishing bone-marking pill were priceless treasures. It was extremely difficult to collect these spiritual objects. Even if one gathered all the materials for this batch of medicinal pills, almost no one could refine this batch of heaven-replenishing bone-marking pill. Not only were the materials for the heaven-replenishing bone-marking pill difficult to find, but it was also the most difficult pill to refine among the Dao transformation pills. Even some Dao essence pill saints might not be able to refine it. This was because this batch of Dao pills contained 3 different kinds of law Dao fruits or divine grasses. Fusing them together and turning them into Dao pills, one could imagine the difficulty involved. That's right. We've already collected the materials for a batch of heaven-replenishing bone-marking pill. We just want to ask Pill Sage Ning to refine a batch of heaven-replenishing bone-marking pill. Percy spoke in a cautious tone. When he answered, he even stood up. Ning Cheng shook his head. "I'm sorry. I'm afraid that I'm still lacking to refine the heaven-replenishing bone-marking pill. The pill discussion grand assembly is about to begin. At that time, all the alchemy powerhouses in the Grand Essence realm will gather together. I think Dao friend Percy should look for an alchemy master at the pill discussion grand assembly, not a half-baked alchemy master like me." Ning Cheng refused this kind of thing without hesitation. What a joke! How precious were the materials for a batch of heaven-replenishing bone-marking pill. If he broke it, he couldn't afford to pay for it. If Percy had obtained a few batches of these materials, he might have considered it. But with only a batch of materials for a batch of heaven-replenishing bone-marking pill, he didn't even think about it. After Percy heard Ning Cheng's words, he sighed and bowed to Ning Cheng. "Pill Sage Ning, I know that if there's anyone in the Grand Essence realm who can refine the heaven-replenishing bone-marking pill, it's only you, Pill Sage Ning." Ning Cheng frowned slightly. "Dao friend Percy, I think you might have misunderstood something. Even if I refined the Harmony Bodhi pill and the 9 Orifices Heart pill in the Fantasy Garden, I wouldn't be able to refine the heaven-replenishing bone-marking pill at that level." Percy spoke up with even more sincerity. "I know that Pill Sage Ning is at least a Dao Transformation Pill Sage. There aren't many Dao Transformation Pill Sages in the Grand Essence realm who can refine special-grade Purple Heaven pills. Even the Pill Union's Association Master, Dao Essence Pill Sage Si Chen Chiotian, can only reach this level. As long as Pill Sage Ning is willing to help, even if we fail in the end, my Void Star sect promises that we will never let Pill Sage Ning take any responsibility. If the refinement succeeds, we only need half of the heaven-replenishing bone-marking pill. The other half will be given to Pill Sage Ning as a reward. Apart from that, Pill Sage Ning can choose anything from my Void Star sect. At the same time, I promise that all of Pill Sage Ning's opponents in the Grand Essence realm will be my Void Star sect's opponents." Ning Cheng's expression changed when he heard this. He had never been to a mysterious sect before. But he knew that in the Grand Essence realm, every mysterious sect was no weaker than the top 10 sections. Yet, such a sect allowed him to choose anything he wanted. From this, it showed how important this person with the bone-marking poison was to the Void Star sect. Moreover, Ning Cheng knew who he had offended. Barbarian Dragon Clan's Dragon Emperor Man Huishan, River Luo Sacred Sect's Tong Mingzi, and even Heaven Essence Sacred City's City Master Mansion had a problem with him. The Void Star sect was willing to take on so many powerful opponents, so it would be strange if the people who had been poisoned were simple. Ning Cheng took in a deep breath again but still shook his head. "Sorry, my strength is limited. I can't refine this furnace of medicinal pills." He wanted to help, but he had a sense of propriety in his heart. If he failed to refine such an important furnace of medicinal pills, the Void Star sect would definitely go crazy. With his current strength, he couldn't afford the madness of the Void Star sect. Don't look at how many people he had offended. In fact, he knew that he wouldn't have any problems on the surface. Man Huishan wouldn't dare to do anything to him, and Tong Mingzi wouldn't dare to do anything to him. As for the shrewd Lu Jiesheng, he wouldn't do anything to him in the open. Plus, he had a friend in Cheng Ho Tian. In fact, his position in Heaven Essence Sacred City was as stable as Mount Tai. Once he left Heaven Essence Sacred City, even Man Huishan wouldn't be able to catch him, let alone Tong Mingzi. He had already thought about this a long time ago. But once he offended the Void Star sect, it would be a completely different story. This balance would immediately break, and he would most likely have to flee for his life. "Then I won't bother Brother Ning." Percy's eyes flashed with disappointment before turning gloomy. He understood Ning Cheng's scruples. Since Ning Cheng didn't want to refine it, he couldn't do anything about it. Ning Cheng also felt a little apologetic. He truly couldn't guarantee that this furnace of heaven-replenishing Mark Bone pills would be a success. If he could guarantee it, he wouldn't have cared. Percy walked to the door and suddenly looked back. "I almost forgot one thing. If you want the dim star gold hidden leaf, you can go to the Grand Essence Ruins Burial Shadow Blue Sand." An elder of my Void Star sect saw the dim star gold hidden leaf in the Burial Shadow Blue Sand when he was looking for the Cyan Frost Underworld branch. I asked that elder not long ago, but he didn't remember the specific location. Otherwise, I could have engraved a jade strip for you. Don't go there. Yen Ji interrupted Percy in panic. She lived in the Grand Essence Ruins for many years and was too familiar with the Burial Shadow Blue Sand. She knew that the lowest cultivation to enter the Burial Shadow Blue Sand was at least a Dao Transformation Holy Emperor. Only a few of them could come out alive. Even if she died, she didn't want Ning Cheng to go to the Grand Essence Ruins Burial Shadow Blue Sand. Why don't you use this to trade with me? As long as you tell me where you know the possible location of the dim star gold hidden leaf, maybe I will agree to help you refine pills. Ning Cheng looked at Percy and asked calmly. Percy showed a faint smile. Pill Sage Ning, I appreciated your character back in the City Master's mansion. Whether you regard me as a friend or not, I, Percy, regard you as a friend. I, Percy, have never done anything like blackmailing a friend. His tone revealed a strong sense of pride. Ning Cheng had dealt with the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children too many times, and each of the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children was a proud person. But Ning Cheng appreciated Percy's pride. It was a pride that came from the bones, not the kind of arrogance that came from reputation. Ning Cheng took a few steps forward and patted Percy on the shoulder. Percy, thank you for treating me as a friend. I'll refine your furnace of heaven replenishing mark bone pills. Pill Sage Ning. Percy looked at Ning Cheng in disbelief. He had made a promise that no one could refuse, but Ning Cheng didn't want to take the risk to help his Void Star sect refine pills. But now, he just casually told Ning Cheng where the dim star gold hidden leaf might appear, and Ning Cheng agreed. He quickly reacted and quickly turned around with joy. Thank you, Pill Sage Ning. Even if you fail in refining the pill, even if I, Percy, die, I won't let you suffer any harm. Ning Cheng smiled. I believe in you, which is why I agreed to help you refine pills. Don't call me Pill Sage Ning from now on. Just call me Ning Cheng. I'll treat you as a friend. Percy laughed. People who know me call me Shihuzi. Brother Ning, you can also call me Shihuzi from now on. Ning Cheng looked at the bearded Percy and couldn't help but feel that this nickname really suited him. Chapter 978. Brother Ning, I'll immediately send a message back to the sect and ask my Void Star Sect's elder to bring the medicinal herbs to the Heaven Essence Sacred City. Percy got Ning Cheng's consent and quickly said his goodbyes. Ning Cheng initially thought that he would have to make a trip to the Void Star sect. But now that Percy said that he would bring medicinal herbs for alchemy to the Heaven Essence Sacred City, it meant that he didn't want to let him run away. He didn't want to go to these mysterious sections. But after learning about the origin of the beautiful star gold hidden leaves, he immediately wanted to head to the Grand Essence ruins to find the beautiful star gold hidden leaves. Moreover, even though he had agreed to help her concoct pills, he still had to consider his own safety. Percy should be trustworthy, but Percy was just a divine emperor who had just reached the Tao molding stage. It was imaginable how much authority he had in the Void Star sect. In Heaven Essence Sacred City, at least Cheng Ho Tian could help him. After sending off Percy, Ning Cheng looked at the worried Yan Ji and spoke. Junior apprentice Sister Ji, you don't have to worry, I will not put myself in danger. If others can come out of the buried shadow blue sands, I can too. Yan Ji nodded and did not continue to persuade Ning Cheng. She would always be with Ning Cheng. Even if she fell, she would fall together with him. In the blink of an eye, 10 days had passed. During these 10 days, Ning Cheng did not even take a step out of his room in the rest stop. Inside his room, he transplanted all the divine grasses and Tao fruit trees into the mysterious yellow beads world. At the same time, he also stayed in his room to refine Tao pills. No one knew how many divine grasses and Tao fruits he had obtained. One of them was preparing for the upcoming pill discussion grand gathering, while the other didn't want any problems to occur while refining the sky replenishing bone marking pill. He had many Tao fruits and divine herbs, so he could refine all kinds of Tao pills at will. To gain a deeper control over the Tao fruits laws, Ning Cheng even specifically refined several kinds of Tao fruits or Tao pills that fused Tao fruits with law divine grasses. As Ning Cheng refined furnace after furnace of Tao pills, Ning Cheng completely immersed himself in the fusion of various Tao fruit laws and the insights into the Tao of alchemy. Seeing that the pill discussion grand assembly was about to begin, Ning Cheng put away the pill furnace, opened the restriction and walked out of the room. He decided to bring Yan Ji, Xin Xiu, and Wu Qihong to the pill discussion conference. Xin Xiu and Wu Qihong weren't qualified to participate in the pill conference. As an alchemist, there were definitely many benefits to participating in this kind of event. Both Xian Xiao and Wu Qihong were alchemy masters struggling at the bottom. Now that they decided to follow him, Ning Cheng wanted to help them reach a higher level. Because of the damage to her foundation, Yan Ji couldn't cultivate. Therefore, she had no choice but to follow behind Ning Cheng to learn about medicinal herbs. Big brother Ning, someone named Sun Rushuan wants to see you. She said that she's from the Sunken Fish Palace. Xian Xiao hurried over when she saw Ning Cheng coming out of seclusion. Sun Rushuan of the Sunken Fish Palace. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness fell outside the door and immediately saw the woman who had questioned him and Bothan in the city master's mansion. To be honest, Ning Cheng did not like this woman at all. Percy knew that he could refine the purple heaven pill, but he also knew that he shouldn't say it in the city lord's mansion. Knowing was one thing, being confirmed by everyone was another. This woman had no qualms about asking about him and Pu Dan in front of everyone. She didn't care about him at all, which made him very unhappy. There were two other women besides Sun Rushuan, one of whom Ning Cheng knew, Zhongmen Yuxiu. This woman had high standards but low ability, and he had even scolded her once. Standing on the other side of Sun Rushuan was a woman with a veil over her face. Looking at her figure, she looked even softer than Lan Bing of the Blue True Hope tribe. Invite them in. This time, Ning Cheng didn't take the initiative to open the restriction. Instead, he let Xian Xiao do it. If it weren't for the fact that Sun Rushuan was already a Dao Essence cultivator and came from the Sunken Fish Palace, he wouldn't even want to meet her. Sunken Fish Palace's Sun Rushuan greets Pil Sage Ning. Sun Rushuan seemed to know that she had acted a bit rashly in the city master's mansion. When she came in, she didn't face Ning Cheng as a Dao Essence cultivator. But when she spoke, she still addressed Ning Cheng as Pil Sage. Senior Sun, please sit down. After Ning Cheng let the three sit down, he poured a few cups of spirit tea. Whether they liked it or not, they were guests here. So, they still had to be polite on the surface. I don't dare to call you senior. If Pil Sage Ning looks up to me, you can just call me senior apprentice sister Ru Xian. As Sun Rushuan spoke, her eyes swept over Yan Ji, who sat next to Ning Cheng. Yan Ji looked weak, but her appearance was clearly better than Zhongmen Yuxiu's. Even compared to Yueshu, she wasn't much weaker. If it weren't for Yueshu coming to Heaven Essence Sacred City, she would have visited Ning Cheng 10 days ago. But now, it seemed that Ning Cheng already had a Dao companion. Ning Cheng showed a slight smile. This junior and senior's cultivation is worlds apart. It's only right for me to address you as senior. Sun Rushuan sighed in her heart. Ning Cheng's words meant that she couldn't climb up to him, and that he had to return to his own path. She knew that her words in the city master's mansion had left a bad impression on Ning Cheng. Zhongmen Yuxiu knew a bit about Ning Cheng's temperament and didn't find it surprising. The woman with a veil over her face sitting next to Sun Rushuan looked at Ning Cheng in surprise. She naturally knew that Ning Cheng was a rogue cultivator. It was absolutely rare for a rogue cultivator to refuse the goodwill of one of the top 10 sects, the Sunken Fish Palace. Aunt Xian's meaning was clear. That is, the Sunken Fish Palace wants to make friends with you. To be honest, she felt a little reluctant for Aunt Xian to call her to Heaven Essence Sacred City to meet an alchemist. For the sake of the Sunken Fish Palace, she didn't show this emotion. But now, Ning Cheng's performance made her a little unhappy. What kind of place was the Sunken Fish Palace? Not to mention that it was filled with beautiful women, it was also one of the top 10 sections. Ning Cheng was just a rogue cultivator. What confidence did he have to refuse such goodwill? Sun Rushuan sighed in her heart, but on the surface, she smiled and said, I want to find Pil Sage Ning to ask for 2-piece Bodhi pills. Pil Sage Ning, please name the price. After saying that, she seemed to feel that her words lacked warmth and added, my Sunken Fish Palace has a sunken fish ice pond, which is especially suitable for women with water attributes to cultivate. Cultivating in it for a day is more effective than cultivating outside for a month. Even if you don't have a water attribute, cultivating in it would have a dozen times the effect. In addition, the Sunken Fish Ice Pond also has a spiritual cleansing effect. If Pill Sage Ning doesn't want anything else, you can also take your Tao companion to the sunken fish ice pond to cultivate. She continued to express goodwill to Ning Cheng and indirectly asked if Ning Cheng had a Tao companion. When Ning Cheng heard that it was suitable for women with water attributes to cultivate, he thought of Luofei. Luofei had a water spirit root. What would happen if she could cultivate in the sunken fish ice pond? He had refined several bottles of peace Bodhi pills. As for spirit crystals, he had a lot of them now. He didn't lack divine herbs. Thinking of this, Ning Cheng took out a jade bottle with 2 piece Bodhi pills and handed it to Tsin Rushuan. Senior sister Ru Xian, here are 2 piece Bodhi pills. As for the spirit crystals, I don't want them. I might need to borrow the sunken fish ice pond from the sunken fish palace in the future. Tsin Rushuan sighed in her heart. This Ning Cheng was too realistic. He had called her Senior Tsin before, saying that it was only right to do so. He clearly didn't want to have anything to do with the sunken fish palace. Now that he heard about the sunken fish ice pond, he immediately changed his address to senior sister Ru Xian. However, she was also secretly surprised by Ning Cheng's ability. He took out a precious spirit pill like the peace Bodhi pill without any discount. This at least showed that she didn't find the wrong person. Zhongmeng Yuxiu's face remained calm. She had been outside for a long time and felt that Ning Cheng's reaction was normal. A trace of contempt flashed in the eyes of the woman with a veil over her face. Did this kind of person who changed according to the wind deserve her favor? She wanted a Tao companion who had a firm and unyielding temperament, not a fickle person who would change his mind for a mere ice pond. Ning Cheng naturally didn't know what this woman was thinking. In fact, he didn't know why Tsin Kaixien came here with 2 attendants. He only knew that since he wanted Luofei to cultivate in the sunken fish palace, it was necessary to build a relationship with Tsin Kaixien. Even if he knew that the other party despised him, he wouldn't care. This was a transaction. He had paid for the things he wanted, but he hadn't gotten them back yet. Naturally, he couldn't not build a relationship. Tsin Kaixien opened the jade bottle, and sure enough, there were 2 Bodhi pills, and they were top-grade divine pills. She quickly stood up and thanked Ning Cheng, many thanks for Pill Sage Ning's Bodhi pill. If you need any help from this Tsin Kaixien, Pill Sage Ning can also come to me. She did not mention the marriage with Ning Cheng again. Ning Cheng obviously had no intention of building a relationship with the sunken fish palace. If she continued to mention the marriage, she would be asking for trouble. The Pill Discussion Grand Assembly was held at the Heaven Essence Sacred City's Pill Union headquarters. When Ning Cheng arrived at the Pill Union with Yan Ji, Xian Xiu, and Wu Qihong, thousands of people had already gathered at the Pill Discussion Public Square. The Elixir Discussion Plaza of the Elixir Association was not an open-air plaza, but a plaza inside the Elixir Association. Many powerful alchemists had carved their own alchemy Tao runes on this plaza. Even if some low-level alchemists came here to listen to the alchemy conference, they would still be able to comprehend many things from these alchemy Tao runes. The plaza was in the shape of a fan. Those with lower alchemy standards could only line up at the back. At the top of the plaza was an alchemy demonstration platform. It was also a place for alchemists to discuss alchemy and compete in alchemy. The Pill Discussion Grand Assembly not only had alchemists come on stage to discuss the Tao of alchemy, but they also had to compete against each other if their alchemy standards were not consistent. Only the few alchemists who won in the end were qualified to represent the Grand Essence realm to compete with other realms in the Pill Discussion Grand Essence realm. A Tao sculpting pill deity could only bring 1 person into the Pill Discussion Public Square. Ning Cheng brought 3 people with him. He had to take out a Tao transformation pill deity's qualification card to enter. Brother Ning, I've been waiting for you for a while. Jian Sanchen's voice came in time. When Ning Cheng went into seclusion, he had looked for Ning Cheng several times. Because he hadn't seen Ning Cheng, he decided to wait outside the Pill Discussion Public Square. With Jian Sanshan, a Tao transformation pill deity, Ning Cheng didn't even need a Tao transformation pill deity's qualification card. Together with Jian Sanshan, they entered the Pill Discussion Grand Assembly's Tao transformation pill deity seats. Pill deity Ning. Ning Cheng had just sat down when Sun Kai-shian, with 2 female disciples, sat down not far from the pill discussion public square and took the initiative to greet Ning Cheng. The seats in the pill discussion public square were divided into 2 parts, one for alchemists and the other for guests. As one of the top 10 sects, Sun Kai-shian was qualified to sit in the front row of guests. Ning Cheng, I'm here too. When Percy arrived, he greeted Ning Cheng from afar and sat down next to Sun Kai-shian. Ning Cheng had just responded when he saw several people walking in from the other end of the pill discussion public square. Cheng Ho Tian walked in the second position, and in front of him was a beardless man wearing a black pill sage Taoist robe. Ning Cheng felt a shock in his heart when he saw this person. He felt a Tao charm aura from this person that integrated into the entire space. This aura seemed to be related to the Tao of alchemy, but it also seemed to have nothing to do with the Tao of alchemy. So powerful. Ning Cheng took in a deep breath. He guessed that this person should be the Pill Union's first association master, Sichin Chiu Tian. Chapter 979. This group of people sat at the most conspicuous spot in the front of the square, close to the pill platform. Cheng Ho Tian's gaze swept towards Ning Cheng and nodded to Ning Cheng with a smile. At this moment, there were nearly 3,000 people in the square, but it still seemed very empty. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness swept out and found even more powerhouses. Not only Man Huishan, Shi Tianhe, Lu Jiesheng, Fei Feng, and other big shots from the major sects had also arrived. He even saw the black-robed star-stepping tower master. It seemed like this pill discussion assembly was not simple. Along with the sound of 3 drums, the prohibition of the elixir meeting square was activated, which meant that no one else would enter the square. After the drumming stopped, a man wearing a black alchemy sage Taoist robe walked onto the pill platform. He first performed a very grand alchemy master salute before saying slowly, "It's time for the alchemy discussion grand meeting that happens once every 200 years. I'm the Alchemy Association's Guild Master, Sichin Chiu Tian, and I'm the host of this Alchemy Discussion Grand Meeting. I'm here to welcome fellow Taoists who have come to discuss alchemy, as well as fellow Taoists and sect masters who have come to listen. I heard that many geniuses in the Tao of alchemy have emerged in the fantasy orchard this time, which makes me very happy. I also hope that my Grand Essence Realm's Alchemy Discussion Grand Assembly will far surpass the past." Everyone knew that Sichin Chiu Tian would discuss his understanding of the Pill Tao every time the Pill Discussion Conference began. At this moment, the entire Pill Gathering Plaza was silent. To the alchemists who came to participate in the Pill discussion, this was a supreme enjoyment, and also a kind of opportunity. For a Tao core powerhouse like Sichin and Chiu Tian, no one knew when he would go into seclusion or leave the Grand Essence Realm. To alchemists of my generation, alchemy is the Tao. The Tao of alchemy was also the human Tao, the heavenly Tao, and the Tao of longevity. Alchemists, the jade cauldron soup decocted, the golden furnace fire blazed, the xian bead formed into an image. One needed to have a clear understanding of yin and yang and a profound understanding of creation. Only then could one pursue the 2 qis in the ecliptic, the 3 natures in the Yuan Palace, the 5 elements, and the 4 symbols. This was the Tao of the small core and the Tao of the great core. They gathered yin and yang, gathered the 5 elements, channeled heaven and earth, and discussed the rules. How could the Tao of the great core be limited to the Tao of heaven and man? How could it be just the path to immortality? The Tao of alchemy is limitless. Flipping the starry sky and the universe is but a simple matter. Sichin Chiu Tian's voice wasn't loud, but it sounded as if it was ringing in everyone's ears. It was clear and contained an endless aura of the Tao, causing everyone present to be intoxicated by it. Even if one did not understand the Tao of alchemy, one would still be able to find their own comprehension in this kind of Tao discussion. Some alchemists even felt enlightened, and many things suddenly became clear. Although Sichin Chiu Tian's alchemy Tao philosophy and Ning Cheng's alchemy Tao philosophy were completely different, Ning Cheng still benefited a lot from it. A day passed in the blink of an eye. When Sichin Chiu Tian stopped talking, most people were still immersed in the Pill Tao, unable to extricate themselves. The voice of the Elixir Association's deputy guild master, Holy Emperor Qing Yi, rang out after Qiu Tian left. Many people came to their senses. Ever since Pil Sage Min Kong fell, my Grand Essence Realm's alchemy Dao has been weakening day by day. Up until the last alchemy conference, no one in my Grand Essence Realm was able to enter the Grand Simplicity Realm in the alchemy Dao. Holy Emperor Qing Yi's words made Ning Qing feel a little puzzled. He sent a voice transmission to Jian Sanshan, who stood beside him. Brother Jian, what does Holy Emperor Qing Yi mean? Jian Sanshan replied, the Grand Essence Realm's laws are broken. Whether it's the Tao of alchemy, the Tao of equipment, or the Tao of talismans, they are far inferior to other realms. Even the second step Tao confirming Holy Emperor ranks behind in the entire 5 Grand Realms. In the last 5 realms Pil competition, the Grand Essence Realm ranked last and didn't get a place to enter the Grand Change Realm. Ning Qing felt secretly shocked. Jing Han and Resham could enter the 4th level of the Fantasy Fruit Garden, which meant that they could refine a batch of top-quality Tao Transformation Spirit Pills. With such strength, how could they not even get a place to enter the Grand Change Realm? As our Grand Essence Realm's only Tao Essence Pill Sage, Guild Master Qiu Tian, said, several genius alchemists have emerged in our Grand Essence Realm this time. We believe that our Grand Essence Realm can get some results in the 5 realms pill competition. Because our Grand Essence Realm has performed poorly in several pill competitions in a row, only 5 people will represent our Grand Essence Realm in the pill competition this time. Holy Emperor Qing Yi's words immediately caused some discussion. Ning Qing could clearly hear that these people were talking about how 10 people had represented the Grand Essence Realm in the last pill competition. Why were there only 5 people left this time? Ning Qing couldn't understand it at all and could only ask Jian Sanshan again. Jian Sanshan obviously knew more about it than most people. He explained, the 5 Grand Realms alchemy competition, artifact crafting competition, and the Grand Battle competition are all the same. If the results are always at the bottom, the number of places will decrease year by year. 5 places is the lowest. Generally, the best results come from the Grand Change Realm. Ning Qing asked in confusion, Brother Jian, the Grand Change Realm doesn't need a place. Why do they want to participate in the competition? Jian Sanshan smiled and said, these places have a lot of uses, but I don't know about some of them. But I know that the Grand Change Realm would sell some of the places every time they obtain a large number of places. They sell these places to other realms and ask for a ridiculously high price. Even one of the top 10 sects would have to pay a heavy price to buy a place. Can we sneak into the Grand Change Realm? Ning Qing asked again. Jian Sanshan shook his head, it's impossible. The Grand Change Realm's laws are perfect, and the realm is extremely stable. Moreover, the realm-protecting restrictions are even more natural. Even Tao perfection experts can't enter the Grand Change Realm without the permission of the Grand Change Realm's controller. There are only 2 ways to enter the Grand Change Realm. One is through the Great Competition, and the second is through Ascension. Ning Qing took in a breath of cold air. Controller? He quickly asked, Brother Jian, did you say that the Grand Change Realm has a controller? Controlling a realm. Does that mean our Grand Essence Realm also has a controller? Everything about us is under the control of that controller? Ning Qing couldn't help but feel nervous. He knew that such a thing wasn't impossible. Just like his mysterious yellow bead, once it became a world, he would also be the controller of this world. Jian Sanshan smiled, the Grand Change Realm does have a controller, but not everyone can control the Grand Change Realm. If that's the case, who would want to go to the Grand Change Realm? As for our Grand Essence Realm, it used to have a controller. But after the realm shattered, the controller went missing. Now, the Sect Alliance and the major sects have come together to take charge of the Grand Essence Realm. Ning Qing finally felt relieved. In case someone took control of the Grand Essence Realm, he would have to find a way to escape. Controlling the Grand Change Realm was equivalent to having a controller. Ning Qing could still accept such a thing. Brother Ning, you have a chance to win a place in the Pill Exchange Conference to compete in the 5 Grand Realms. You must not miss it. After Jian Sanshan finished, he also reminded Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng was just about to ask when he heard Holy Emperor Qing Yi continue, "In this pill exchange conference, our Grand Essence Realm will select 5 alchemists to represent our Grand Essence Realm in the 5 Grand Realms pill competition. The alchemists who can represent the Grand Essence Realm in the 5 Grand Realms pill competition will receive a Heaven Essence fruit in addition to the support of the major sects and clans." As the 3 words Heaven Essence fruit spread, the entire venue immediately turned lively. This kind of priceless Dao fruit was taken out at once as a reward. This kind of extravagance was simply unimaginable. Although many Dao fruits appeared in the fantasy orchard, hundreds of them together might not be as valuable as one Heaven Essence fruit. Even if Jing Han and the others entered the 4th floor, they would at most obtain a few Dao transformation Dao fruits. The Heaven Essence fruit was a genuine Dao Essence Dao fruit, and it was one of the most precious Dao Essence Dao fruits. It was a Dao fruit that allowed first step Dao confirming holy emperors to comprehend the second step Dao Essence Dao fruit. One could say that obtaining a Heaven Essence fruit gave one a chance to become a second-step Dao Essence Holy Emperor. Even Ning Cheng couldn't help but feel a little moved. He had obtained dozens of Dao fruit trees in the fantasy orchard, but he hadn't obtained a single Heaven Essence fruit. Even the most valuable Dao fruit couldn't compare to the Heaven Essence fruit. As far as we know, if you can get first place in the pill competition, you will get a top-grade wood-attributed God Spirit vein. Apart from the first place, the second and third place rewards are equally precious. Hearing this, Ning Cheng immediately put aside the Heaven Essence fruit. His mind was now filled with the wood-attributed top-grade God Spirit vein. Because of its rarity, attributed God Spirit veins were much more valuable than non-attributed God Spirit veins. Among them, the most valuable was naturally the wood-attributed God Spirit vein, not to mention a top-grade wood-attributed God Spirit vein. Ning Cheng had felt an itch in his heart when he saw the wood-attributed high-grade God Spirit vein in the fantasy orchard. Now, there was even a top-grade wood-attributed God Spirit vein as a reward. Ning Cheng had to participate in this competition. Whether he could get first place or not, he had to fight for this wood-attributed top-grade God Spirit vein. As long as he obtained this God Spirit vein, the various medicine gardens and Dao fruit trees in his mysterious yellow bead would glow with new vitality. Brother Ning, don't think that the Heaven Essence fruit is the most precious. In fact, as long as you get into the top 5, you can represent the Grand Essence Realm in the pill competition of the 5 Grand Realms. Your harvest wouldn't be any weaker than the Heaven Essence fruit. Jian Sanshan saw Ning Cheng's eyes glowing with golden light and thought that Ning Cheng had become tempted by the Heaven Essence fruit. He didn't think that Ning Cheng wanted a wood-attributed top-grade spirit vein. Ning Cheng was a genius in the Tao of alchemy, but he didn't believe that Ning Cheng could take first place in the pill-gathering grand competition of the 5 Grand Realms. Don't look at how only 5 people from the Grand Essence Realm participated in the pill competition of the 5 Grand Realms. The other realms had dozens of pill saints participating in the pill competition. Some even had primordial chaos pill saints. The Grand Essence Realm couldn't compare to such a level. Do you mean the support from the major sects and clans mentioned by Holy Emperor Qing Yi? Ning Cheng asked. Jian Sanshan gave an "n" sound, that's right. Every time the Grand Essence Realm qualifies to participate in the 5 Grand Realms Great Competition, whether you compete in alchemy, artifact crafting or Dao laws, many sects would show their goodwill. Their requirements are simple. That is, if you get a spot, they want to distribute a portion of it to their sections. Therefore, as long as you can get into the top 5 in this pill discussion Grand Assembly, cultivation resources would come rolling in. Then how many spots would the champion of the 5 Grand Realms Great Pill Competition get? Jian Sanshan replied, I don't know about that. I only know that no matter what kind of competition it is, only the top 10 would get the rewards. Ning Cheng understood a bit about it. No wonder it was so difficult to get a place in the Grand Essence Realm. 5 people competing for the top 10 in front of hundreds of powerful pill saints. Moreover, many of them were primordial chaos pill saints. It would truly be difficult to win. Chapter 980. Now, I announce the official start of the elixir discussion. After Sacred Emperor Qingyi finished speaking, he walked down the elixir platform. Ning Cheng had never seen how people discussed alchemy, but he did not ask the Three Sword Mountains about it. He wanted to see how the others discussed alchemy, and how he would also discuss it. As soon as Sacred Emperor Qingyi walked down, a short man with a square face flew and landed on the pill stage. The man bowed with an alchemy master's greeting and said loudly, "The Heaven Medicine Sect's Tao Birth Alchemy Saint, Bi Hanyuan, greets seniors, sect masters and fellow alchemy Taoists. The Alchemy Conference is a day that all of us alchemists look forward to. Senior Qiu Tian's Grand Tao of Alchemy has given me a deep understanding of it. My alchemy intent is like a fishbone stuck in my throat. With the help of the Tao of Alchemy this time, Bi Hanyuan will throw out a brick to attract jade. I hope that seniors can point out the mistakes in the Tao of Alchemy." Jian Sanshan's voice transmission came again. "Brother Ning, although Bi Hanyuan is a Tao Birth Alchemy Saint, his strength is not to be underestimated. He's the first pill saint of the First Heavenly Medicine Sect. He represented the Grand Essence Realm in the last 5 realms pill competition." Ning Cheng nodded. He had seen this Bi Hanyuan before. He had participated in the Fantasy Fruit Garden and had even entered the 3rd layer of the Fantasy Fruit Garden. Seeing that Bi Hanyuan's pill discussion had begun, Ning Cheng sent a sound transmission to Jian Sanshan, "Brother Jian, will you come up to discuss pills?" Jian Sanshan said awkwardly, "When there aren't many people, I intend to go up and discuss with them." This way, he would be able to receive some pointers, which would be very helpful to his pill Tao. However, when there are many alchemists discussing alchemy, I won't join in the fun. Generally, those who competed for such a slot were at least Tao sculpting pill saints. I, a pill god, do not have much competitiveness. How did the pill discussion meet select the 5 people? Ning Cheng continued to ask. Jian Sanshan carefully explained, as long as one has the qualifications to become a Tao sculpting pill deity, anyone can come onto the pill altar to discuss pills. The total score for the first round of the elixir discussion was 30 points. This score was given by the Elixir Association's guild leader according to the Elixir Tao of the Elixir Association. The top 20 elixir masters would enter the second round. The second round was to refute the opponent's pill Tao. Then, through one's own pill Tao methods, one would be able to refine a better pill than the opponent's, and one would win. In this round, only those with higher scores could refute those with lower scores. Refuting the other party's alchemy Tao could only refute one alchemist at most. If you win, your opponent's points in the first round will all go to you. In order to avoid losing, everyone chose weaker opponents when debating the Tao of Alchemy, just in case. After the second round, it was time for the third round, which was a direct competition. That was to compete on whose pill was more valuable and whose pill was more difficult to refine. The materials for alchemy were all provided by themselves, and the refined pills also belonged to everyone. In fact, every time the alchemy discussion conference was held in the Illusion Garden, it was also for the sake of alchemy materials. The score for this round is 70 points, which are based on the difficulty and quality of the pill. If I don't enter the top 20 of the pill discussion, but my alchemy level is very high, then what should I do? If they really have the ability to concoct pills, they can still challenge them after the top 5 are decided. The challenge required at least 3 Tao transformation Tao fruits. As long as you could defeat the person with the highest score, even if you didn't participate in the pill discussion and the Tao of Alchemy, you could still represent the Grand Essence Realm to participate in the 5 realms pill competition. Because no matter who wins or loses, the Tao fruit will not be returned, so in reality, the possibility of this happening is almost non-existent. As Jian Sanshan spoke until here, he was afraid that Ning Cheng didn't understand what he meant. So, he explained, in fact, even if you want to challenge them, you have to exchange pills with the other party. After listening to Jian Sanshan's explanation, Ning Cheng nodded. Even he didn't want to take out 3 Tao transformation Tao fruits in exchange for a chance to challenge. 3 Tao transformation Tao fruits weren't just a little precious. Besides, the alchemy master with the best score would never be a nobody. Whether he won or lost, he would end up offending a big force. Therefore, if he wanted to represent the Grand Essence realm in the 5 realms pill competition, he might as well start from the first round. After Ning Cheng basically understood the pill discussion selection, Bi Hanyuan completely immersed himself in his own alchemy Tao. Therefore, I believe that a pill is one, and one is also one. If a person knows one, then everything is over. If a person knows one, then there is nothing he doesn't know. If a person doesn't know one, then there is nothing he doesn't know. Pill sage Qiu Tian once said that the Tao of alchemy is the heavenly Tao, the human Tao, and the Tao of longevity. The Tao produces qi from nothingness, and from that qi produces yin and yang. Yin and yang then combine into the 3 bodies, and the 3 bodies rebirth all things prosper. Ning Cheng originally didn't care about these alchemy Tao discussions, but he heard Bi Hanyuan say, if a person knows one, then there is nothing he doesn't know. If a person doesn't know one, then there is nothing he doesn't know. The Tao produces qi from nothingness, and from that qi produces yin and yang. Yin and yang then combine into the 3 bodies, and the 3 bodies rebirth all things prosper. At that moment, his heart unexpectedly resonated with it. Didn't this have something in common with his grand Tao of returning to one? He didn't care much about Bi Hanyuan's alchemy Tao, but he cared a lot about this Tao of returning to one. The Tao produces qi from nothingness, and from that qi returns yin and yang. Yin and yang combine into the 3 bodies, and the 3 bodies give birth to all things. Everything started from one, and everything returned to one. At this moment, he once again entered into an epiphany of the grand Tao of returning to one. Sitting in front of him, Si Chen Qiu Tian's gaze suddenly fell on Ning Cheng with a hint of surprise in his eyes. He had long since noticed Ning Cheng because, according to the information he received, Ning Cheng might be the alchemist who could open the 13th door of the fantasy garden. He naturally wouldn't ignore such a genius alchemist. To be honest, Ning Cheng falling into an epiphany during Bi Hanyuan's alchemy Tao discussion made him feel a little disappointed. Although Bi Hanyuan's alchemy Tao discussion drew support from his own alchemy Tao, it was full of mistakes and could not become a system at all. In his words, this was the Tao of small pills. Ning Cheng's epiphany during the Tao of small pills was obviously limited. Si Chen Qiu Tian sighed and was about to look away from Ning Cheng when he suddenly felt that something was wrong. He stared at Ning Cheng in shock because he could see that Ning Cheng was not comprehending the Tao of alchemy, but his own grand Tao. In the process of others discussing the Tao of alchemy, he did not comprehend the Tao of alchemy, but instead comprehended his own grand Tao. Was this the sorrow of the alchemy Tao discussion, or the heaven-defying nature of the person who comprehended it? This simply couldn't be measured with common sense. The one who felt Ning Cheng's epiphany the most was Jian Sanshan, who was sitting next to Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng fell into an epiphany, and his imposing aura continued to rise. This was obviously Ning Cheng's understanding of the spirit techniques and Tao insights gradually rising. In his heart, he was also horrified by Ning Cheng's terrifying epiphany ability. He could even gain an epiphany under such circumstances. Jian Sanshan wasn't Si Chen Qiu Tian, so he could only feel that Ning Cheng had fallen into an epiphany. However, he didn't know that Ning Cheng didn't have an epiphany about Bi Hanyuan's alchemy Tao, but about his own returning to one Tao. One could say that Ning Cheng's epiphany had nothing to do with Bi Hanyuan. If one had to say that it had something to do with Bi Hanyuan, then it was Bi Hanyuan's reminder. Bi Hanyuan's alchemy Tao discussion didn't last long. Si Chen Qiu Tian didn't know why, but he gave Bi Hanyuan 21 points, which was a high score. After scoring 21 points, Bi Hanyuan came down from the pill platform with a smile on his face. Jian Sanshan soon felt that something was wrong. Since Bi Hanyuan came down and the second alchemy master came up, Ning Cheng should have ended his epiphany. However, Ning Cheng not only didn't end his epiphany, but his imposing aura continued to rise. One alchemy master after another came up to discuss alchemy Tao. Even Tao transformation pill saints like Jing Han, Do Jiangshi, Lesham, and others had come up to discuss alchemy Tao, but Ning Cheng still hadn't woken up. Seeing that the first round of alchemy Tao discussion was about to end, Jian Sanshan felt a little anxious. It didn't matter if he went up or not. Ning Cheng was a Dao transformation pill saint and definitely had a chance to enter the top 5. If he missed the alchemy Dao discussion, it would be almost impossible for Ning Cheng to enter the top 5. As fewer and fewer pill saints came up to discuss alchemy Dao, Jian Sanshan knew that it was too late. As Ning Cheng fell into an epiphany, he couldn't wake Ning Cheng up. Some cultivators never experienced an epiphany in their lives. Once you disturbed the other party's epiphany, you would become a life and death enemy. No matter how important it was to participate in the alchemy Dao discussion, it wasn't as important as this long-term epiphany. Not to mention Jian Sanshan, even Cheng Hotian, Sun Rushuan, and Percy, who were familiar with Ning Cheng, looked at Ning Cheng in confusion. They also felt strange as to why Ning Cheng didn't come up to discuss alchemy Dao. Some alchemy masters, who had speculated that Ning Cheng had entered the 13th floor of the illusion garden, started to pay attention to Ning Cheng. After confirming that Ning Cheng didn't come up to discuss alchemy Dao, they started to doubt whether Ning Cheng had entered the 13th floor of the illusion garden. After the first round ended and the second round began, Ning Cheng still fell into an epiphany. In the end, Jian Sanshan could only sigh and no longer dwell on this matter. He concentrated on feeling the conflicting alchemy Dao and pill charm of the many alchemy Dao powerhouses on the pill platform. This time, Jing Han was the first to come up. As soon as he came up, he directly said, "The alchemy Dao has nothing to do with one. Alchemy Dao cultivators gather essence qi and spiritual consciousness, fuse with the many spiritual objects of heaven and earth, and gather the essence. How can it become one? One can be a Dao fruit, a spiritual object, but not a pill. I want to refute the heaven medicine sect's Dao nourishment pill saint, Bihanyuan." Everyone suddenly understood that Bihanyuan had scored too high in the first round. Even if Jing Han didn't refute him, someone else would. Who didn't want 21 points? Bihanyuan felt a little helpless. The joy of scoring a high score in the first round disappeared without a trace. In terms of alchemy Dao and alchemy, he was far from being Jing Han's opponent. He would definitely lose this round. Knowing that he would lose, he could only go up to the pill platform. When Ning Cheng woke up, he saw Sacred Emperor Qing Yi on the pill platform. Sacred Emperor Qing Yi said with a smile, "After 3 rounds of alchemy discussion, the final 5 people are, Immortal Corpse Sect's Dao Transformation Pill Saint Do Jiangshi, High Divine Pill Sect's Dao Transformation Pill Saint Jing Han, City Lord Mansion's Dao Transformation Pill Saint Lu Zixin, Flaming Feather Spirit Mountain's Dao Transformation Pill Saint Yan Kuifu, Missing Moon Valley's Dao Birth Pill Saint Mei Xiuan." Was this the end of the pill competition? Ning Cheng looked at Holy Emperor Qing Yi, who was on the pill stage, in surprise. The benefits of this epiphany were unimaginable. Ning Cheng believed that with this epiphany, he would quickly advance to the middle stage Dao modeling. This kind of Dao foundation couldn't be described in words. Only he himself understood it. "Brother Ning, you actually had an epiphany for 10 days and 10 nights. Jian Sanshan's regretful voice came over. Apparently, he felt that Ning Cheng's epiphany had taken too long. Ning Cheng asked doubtfully, "Brother Jian, that's not right. Isn't there another Dao transformation pill saint called Resham?" Pill sage Resham lost to Missing Moon Valley's Dao birth pill saint Mei Xiuan during the pill exchange, Jian Sanshan replied. Chapter 981. A Dao transformation alchemy saint had lost to a Dao birth alchemy saint. Ning Cheng immediately thought of Do Jiangshi. He was obviously a Dao transformation alchemy saint, but he did not go for the assessment. Instead, he used the qualifications of a Dao modeling alchemy saint to participate in the fantasy garden. Thinking of this, Ning Cheng suddenly felt that he was similar to him. He was also a Dao transformation pill saint, but he used a Dao sculpting pill deity to participate in the fantasy garden. What was slightly better than him was that he had taken the Dao Transformation Alchemy Saint qualification card before participating in the Illusion Garden. In the Illusion Garden, that divine soul first failed to possess him, and in the end, it possessed Do Jiangshi. Was this retribution? If no one comes up to challenge them, then the 5 of them will represent my Grand Essence realm in the 5 Realms Pill competition. At the same time, I would also like to invite the sects and clans willing to support the 5 alchemists. Knowing that no one would come up to challenge them, Holy Emperor Qingyi still mentioned it. Only then did Ning Qing wake up. If he didn't issue a challenge, he wouldn't have the opportunity to represent the Grand Essence Realm in the 5 Realms Pill competition. Without waiting for Holy Emperor Qingyi to continue, Ning Qing quickly stood up. Wait, I want to issue a challenge. Sacred Emperor Qingyi's words came to an abrupt end. Not only Sacred Emperor Qingyi, but everyone on the public square also looked at Ning Qing. What a show-off guy. The veiled woman sitting next to Cin Rushuan shook her head speechlessly. Not only her, but even Shuri Shuang and Ing Yongxian who knew Ning Qing shook their heads in silence. Back at the Grand Essence Ruins Trade Fair, they already knew that Ning Qing loved to show off. But from the looks of it, even after changing places, he still couldn't change this habit. Who is this person? You shouldn't be asking who he is, but who does he think he is? How dare he challenge me in such an occasion? You are courting death. Some of the cultivators who did not know Ning Qing immediately asked about it, which soon turned into speechless curses. In the Grand Essence realm, alchemists always had a relatively high status, not to mention the 5 top-grade alchemists representing the Grand Essence realm in the 5 Realms Pill competition. Ning Qing was just an unknown pill master, yet he dared to issue a challenge to these 5 people. It would be a strange thing if he was not scolded. Challenge the 5 great pill saints. Was this something that anyone could say? Could anyone take out 3 Dao transformation Dao fruits? In the face of so many seniors and powerhouses, as well as the most powerful Dao Essence Pill Sage in the Grand Essence Realm, Sita, talking nonsense in such a place would only lead to death. A puny Dao molding Divine Emperor couldn't even be slapped to death here. I can only say that you are ignorant and ill-informed. You don't even know the famous Pill Master Ning. Do you know who opened the 13th door of the Fantasy Garden? It was him. Do you know who is on good terms with President Cheng? It's also him. No way, he is Ning Qing. The guy who offended the Dragon Emperor, Tong Mingzi, and City Lord Lo? Who else could it be? No wonder, someone who dared to kill Man Huishan's son and didn't even give Lu Jiesheng any face, so it was only normal for him to issue a challenge in the Pill Discussion Assembly. It would be abnormal if such a fearless person were to fight for the top 5 using normal means. You mean you want to challenge him? Holy Emperor Qingyi looked at Ning Qing in surprise. She immediately recalled that Ning Qing had obtained a lot of Dao fruits in the Fantasy Garden. She guessed that Ning Qing must have some Dao Transformation Dao fruits on him. However, Dao Transformation Dao fruits were so precious that they couldn't be wasted so casually. Even if Ning Qing entered the 13th door of the Fantasy Garden, he wouldn't have obtained many Dao Transformation Dao fruits, right? In fact, Holy Emperor Qingyi didn't guess wrong. Ning Qing had obtained a lot of Dao Transformation Dao fruits in the Fantasy Garden, but he didn't have more than 10 Dao Transformation Dao fruits in total. That's right, I really want to challenge. Ning Qing quickly repeated his words. Holy Emperor Qingyi could only say, do you know that you need to take out 3 Dao Transformation Dao fruits to challenge him? Moreover, whether you win or lose, these 3 Dao Transformation Dao fruits won't be returned. 2 of these 3 Dao fruits are for the person you want to challenge. She knew that Ning Qing and Qing Hotian had a good relationship, so she took the initiative to remind Ning Qing. Ning Qing smiled, walked up the pill stage, took out 3 jade boxes, and handed them to Holy Emperor Qingyi. I happen to have 3 great nullification divine fruits on me. It's just the right time to take them out. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. They didn't expect Ning Qing to really take out 3 Dao Transformation Dao fruits. The Great Nullification Divine Fruit was indeed a Dao Transformation Dao fruit. It could evolve a Dao Transformation Divine Emperor's nomological sacred art. If a Dao Transformation Divine Emperor wanted to reach the second step of the Dao Essence realm, it was very important to understand the nomological sacred art. The Great Nullification Divine Fruit was obviously a Dao Transformation Dao fruit that could help one reach the Dao Essence realm. Although it wasn't as precious as the Purple Heaven Dao fruit, it was much more precious than ordinary Dao Nourishment Dao fruits. Holy Emperor Qing Yi didn't have such a big deal. She carefully opened the jade box that Ning Qing handed to her. After confirming it, she nodded and said cautiously, "That's right, there are 3 great nullification divine fruits in this jade box." After saying that, she put away the jade box and continued, "Pill Master Ning, you know that if you want to challenge someone, you can only challenge the person with the highest score. If the Pill Master with the highest score doesn't accept your challenge, then you can challenge the others. Of course, no matter who you challenge, you have to accept the other 4. Ning Qing nodded. "Naturally, no problem." Holy Emperor Qing Yi continued, "In that case, prepare for the challenge. If the Pill Master with the highest score refuses the challenge, he must state the reason why he doesn't accept your challenge. As for the method of the battle, it must be proposed by the Pill Master you challenge." Everyone immediately looked at Do Jiangshi, thinking to themselves that this Ning Qing truly was ignorant and fearless. If Ning Qing had said that he wanted to compete with Do Jiangshi at the beginning of the pill discussion conference, although others might have felt that it wasn't appropriate, they wouldn't have looked at him like this. Everyone here had seen Do Jiangshi's pill Dao level. Even the most promising Dao transformation pill sage in the Grand Essence realm, Jing Han, wasn't his opponent, let alone Ning Qing. Let's not talk about whether Ning Qing had really opened the 13th door of the Illusion Fruit Garden. Even if Ning Qing had opened the 13th door, he definitely hadn't reached the 4th level of the Illusion Fruit Garden. As long as he hadn't reached the 4th level of the Illusion Fruit Garden, it meant that Ning Qing's pill Dao level was far inferior to Do Jiangshi's. Besides, who could be sure that one had a high pill Dao level after opening the 13th door of the Illusion Fruit Garden? Maybe there were other factors. Do Jiangshi stood up and walked towards the pill stage. Since Ning Qing wanted to challenge him, even if he didn't want to accept the challenge, he had to go to the pill stage first. Everyone on the pill discussion square thought that Do Jiangshi would fly into a rage out of shame. After all, being challenged by a Dao sculpting pill deity like Ning Qing was a very shameful thing. To everyone's surprise, Do Jiangshi cupped his fists towards the public square before looking at Ning Qing and saying, "I refuse your challenge. The reason for refusing is because I'm not your opponent." After saying that, Do Jiangshi didn't care about other people's opinions. He slowly walked down the pill stage and once again sat down in the row where the 5 people won. Do Jiangshi didn't show any expression on his face, let alone embarrassment or embarrassment. The public square suddenly turned silent. But after Do Jiangshi sat down, this silence quickly turned into a noisy discussion. What kind of rhythm was this? Do Jiangshi, the immortal corpse sect's super dark horse, actually refused the challenge of a Dao sculpting pill deity? If the reason for refusing was contempt or disdain for competing with Ning Qing, it would have been more like it. But Do Jiangshi's reason for refusing was that he wasn't Ning Qing's opponent. Ning Qing looked at Do Jiangshi and smiled but didn't speak. At this moment, he felt even more sure that Do Jiangshi was the unlucky fellow who got possessed by that fellow. Otherwise, he would never have refused his challenge. If Do Jiangshi was that spirit soul, then he naturally knew about his alchemy methods and knew that he wasn't Ning Qing's opponent. Moreover, Do Jiangshi didn't hesitate to admit defeat to represent the Grand Essence realm in the 5 Grand Realms pill competition. There must be a reason for it. After Do Jiangshi admitted defeat, many people on the public square started to look at Ning Qing. Although some people thought that Do Jiangshi didn't want to take risks and deliberately admitted defeat. After all, Do Jiangshi had already obtained the qualifications to represent the Grand Essence realm in the 5 Grand Realms pill competition. As such, there was no need for him to discuss alchemy with Ning Qing. However, most people felt that Do Jiangshi might not be Ning Qing's opponent, which meant that Ning Qing was an extremely powerful alchemy master. Since Do Jiangshi didn't want to compete with Ning Qing could only find one of the remaining 4. Ning Qing's gaze swept over the remaining 4 people. Except for the missing Moon Valley's Dao-raising pill sage Mei Xiuan, who looked at Ning Qing with a puzzled look, the other 3 looked indifferent. Jing Han didn't know how strong Ning Qing's Dao of alchemy was, but he had a lot of enmity with Ning Qing. If it weren't for preparing for the pill competition, he would have already found a way to kill Ning Qing. If Ning Qing challenged him, he would definitely slap Ning Cheng's face. At this moment, he couldn't wait for Ning Cheng to challenge him. Ning Cheng's gaze didn't linger on his face. If not for the 5 elements heavenly fruit, Ning Cheng would have challenged Jing Han. The 5 elements heavenly fruit he brought back was problematic. Just as Jing Han didn't want to let him go, Ning Cheng also decided not to let this fellow go. This fellow was the trump card of the Grand Essence Pill sect and always had powerhouses around him. It wouldn't be easy to kill him here. He could only let this fellow represent the Grand Essence realm in the pill competition and then find a chance to kill him before leaving the Grand Essence realm. Therefore, he couldn't let Jing Han go. Ning Cheng looked at Yan Kuaifu again. He didn't expect that the Flaming Feather Spirit Mountain would have a Dao transformation pill sage. This fellow didn't seem to have gone to the fantasy orchard, and Ning Cheng didn't know why. Flaming Feather Spirit Mountains Ning Cheng knew Peng Shan and Peng Ruimei. Therefore, for the sake of these 2 fellows, he decided to let this Yan Kuaifu go. As for the missing Moon Valley's Mei Xiuwan, she would be a good opponent. Moreover, she was just a Dao-raising pill sage. However, Ning Cheng's gaze quickly moved away. Finding a woman to fight with, especially the weakest one here, would make him lose some of his spirit. If there was no other choice, then it would be her. Now that he had a choice, he could only choose this city master's mansion's Lushizhen. The Lu clan controlled the Heaven Essence Sacred City's city master's mansion and even controlled the fantasy orchard. Their background truly wasn't ordinary. They even had a Dao transformation pill sage. Since they used Dao fruits to brew wine, it wouldn't be strange to cultivate a Dao transformation pill sage. Chapter 982. Seeing Ning Cheng's gaze fall on Yu Shizhen, Yu Jiesheng's face sank. He knew that Ning Cheng would never be a match for Xianzhen in terms of alchemy, but he still felt uncomfortable in his heart. He would let this little thing know when he really crushed this arrogant little thing to the point that it couldn't get up. He, Lu Jiesheng, was easy to talk to, not easy to bully. A mere Dao-molding divine emperor dared to disrespect Lu family. Without waiting for Ning Cheng to speak, Lu Shizhen spoke with a faint smile. It looks like Pill Master Ning wants to challenge me. Ning Cheng cupped his fists. I hope that Pill Master Lu would not hesitate to teach me. Seeing that Ning Cheng had already issued a challenge to Yu Xiaozhen, Holy Emperor Qingyi spoke up. Pill Master, you can propose 3 pill competition topics related to alchemy, and Pill Master Ning cannot raise any objections. The challenge begins now. Holy Emperor Qingyi didn't want to offend Ning Cheng, nor did he want to offend Lu Shizhen. Therefore, after announcing the start of the challenge, he handed the 2 grand nullification divine fruits to Lu Shizhen and quickly left the pill platform. Yu Xiaozhen walked up to the pill platform and first gave a pill master's salute to the people on the public square. Only then did she walk over to Ning Cheng and sat down opposite him before speaking in a calm voice. Since Pill Master Ning wants to challenge me, then please name the topic. Ning Cheng stretched out his hand and spoke unhurriedly. According to the rules, I am the challenger. Pill Master Lu should be the one to set the question. Yu Shizhen laughed. Good, the younger generation will surpass us in time. Then, I will ask Alchemist Ning for advice. Alchemy is also a part of the Tao, and the Tao of alchemy is like the gate of mystery. It condenses the roots of the world and condenses the essence of the source. Pill arts are like the keys to the door. They originate from Xian Ku and are the foundation of the Tao of alchemy. Alchemist Ning, what do you think? Ning Cheng understood the meaning behind Lu Shizhen's words. That is, the very beginning of the Tao of alchemy was the condensation of the essence of all the spiritual grasses in the world. This idea was not abrupt. Many pill masters, including Ning Cheng, also thought so. But later, Lu Shizhen said that because the alchemy Tao was extracted from all things in the world, the pill arts for alchemy were also found according to the origin characteristics of all things in the world. He wanted to ask Ning Cheng if his point of view was correct. No alchemist would think that this point of view was wrong. Ning Cheng smiled. Perhaps this is Pill Master Li's alchemy Tao philosophy, but I don't think so. Just as Senior Chiu Tian had said, every alchemy master who had just started would think that the alchemy art originated from the source of the spiritual item and was the key to opening the door. Once you step into the Grand Pill Tao, you will know that pill arts are external objects. The path of alchemy changed according to the laws of heaven and earth, the density of the surrounding yuan qi, and the changes of the alchemist's state of mind. How could it be restricted by the alchemist's alchemy techniques? When you completely understand the path of alchemy, you will look back and ask with a smile, what are alchemy arts? Ning Cheng's words were not deliberately mystifying, nor was he pretending to be profound. He rarely used alchemy techniques in alchemy. This was not because he did not understand alchemy techniques, but because his alchemy Tao was indeed different from others. What he cultivated was the mysterious yellow formless. Even if he cultivated, the cultivation method that he cultivated would always be different, not to mention alchemy. After coming out of the land of broken laws, his understanding of the changes in the laws of heaven and earth had deepened, which was why he could say such words. Even if he sometimes used alchemy techniques, the alchemy techniques used for each furnace of medicinal pills were different. It was precisely because he had this ability that he could guide Jian Sanshan to refine a furnace of top-grade Tao sculpting divine pills. Yu Xiaozhen froze. He had already set up a trap for Ning Cheng to step into. As long as Ning Cheng thought that this point of view was correct, he would continue to ask about the formation of alchemy techniques and why alchemy techniques were based on the changes of all things. He had studied the alchemy Tao for countless years and was extremely proficient in the concepts of the alchemy Tao. Not to mention one Ning Cheng, even 10,000 Ning Cheng wouldn't be his opponent. Who knew that Ning Cheng would not play according to common sense and even dare to say that he disagreed with his point of view? No, this wasn't his point of view. It was the recognized point of view of the alchemy Tao. Ning Cheng not only disagreed with this widely recognized point of view of the alchemy Tao, but he even dared to say that once one truly stepped into the alchemy Tao palace, one could even abandon alchemy techniques. This was simply shameless and nonsensical. Yu Xiaozhen's face suddenly turned livid with anger. What kind of alchemy discussion was this? It was complete nonsense. It was a disgrace to discuss alchemy with such a person. Not to mention Yu Shizhen, even all the alchemists in the public square stared at Ning Cheng in anger. It was fine to be in the limelight, but this kind of shameless limelight had angered all the alchemists who pursued the alchemy Tao. Who didn't need alchemy techniques for alchemy? Who dared to say that alchemy needed to change according to the surrounding laws of heaven and earth? Get lost, scum of the alchemy world. With just a mouth, you dare to challenge the 5 Grandmaster Alchemists of the Alchemy Discussion Grand Assembly? The crowd was so agitated that the entire alchemy discussion public square seemed to have gone out of control. Jian Sanshan, Yan Ji, and the others all looked at Ning Cheng with worried expressions. In such a grand occasion, once Ning Cheng made a big mistake, even if others wanted to kill Ning Cheng, no one would be able to stop them. Cheng Hotian had a worried look on his face. He knew that Ning Cheng most likely wasn't lying. Because when Ning Cheng was performing alchemy, he had seen it from the side. His spiritual consciousness couldn't detect Ning Cheng's pill furnace, but he could feel that Ning Cheng really didn't use any alchemy techniques. Immediately, he was shocked. Did this mean that Ning Cheng had touched the Grand Core realm that he had mentioned? Unfortunately, his strength was still a bit lacking. If he were in the primordial chaos realm, he might have a much easier time understanding Ning Cheng's alchemy needed to change according to the surrounding laws of heaven and earth. Yu Xiaozhen suddenly stood up and cupped his fists towards the Pill Association's association master, Sichen Chiu Tian. Senior Chiu Tian, this person didn't come here to challenge the Alchemy Discussion Grand Assembly. He came here to mess up the Alchemy Discussion Grand Assembly. Without waiting for Sichen Chiu Tian to speak, Ning Cheng sneered and said, "So you're saying that if you can't do it, others can? Do you still have any shame? I heard that the Barbarian Dragon Clan has a Tao Perfection expert, but no one has ever seen him. You can't reach Tao Perfection in this lifetime. According to you, the Barbarian Dragon Clan's Tao Perfection expert is just an act? A fake?" Man Huishan heard Ning Cheng's words and snorted, "Ning Cheng, if you ignore what you said, don't blame me for being impolite. He was the barbarian dragon clan's dragon emperor, so he naturally understood Ning Cheng's meaning. Ning Cheng wasn't just attacking Yu Xiaozhen. At the same time, he was also telling the other sects that no one knew whether the barbarian dragon clan had a Tao perfection expert or not. This would also reduce the barbarian dragon clan's prestige and pressure on the other sections. Ning Cheng cupped his fists and said with a smile, "I just respect a Tao perfection expert. Since the barbarian dragon emperor doesn't want me to mention it, then I won't mention it." Man Huishan snorted coldly again and ignored Ning Cheng. Yu Shizhen, who had already determined that Ning Cheng was talking nonsense, didn't even look at Ning Cheng. Instead, she still bowed and asked the Pill Association's association master to judge. Si Chen Chiu Tian slowly said, "The Tao of alchemy is myriad. The Alchemy Discussion Grand Assembly won't make a decision just because the Alchemy Discussion Grand Assembly isn't unrealistic. What we don't know, others might know. What we think is impossible might seem normal to others. In fact, I once tried not to use pill arts, but it proved that it didn't work. Originally, I also thought that it wouldn't work. But when my cultivation and alchemy Tao reached a higher level and touched the edge of the Grand Core realm, I vaguely felt that maybe my alchemy Tao level wasn't up to par yet. Therefore, this isn't nonsense. The two people's viewpoints on the alchemy discussion are temporarily different. Temporarily different meant that there was no clear winner or loser for the time being. But when the Pill Discussion Grand Assembly came, if they used their alchemy Tao to prove their viewpoints, then the previous Alchemy Discussion Grand Assembly would no longer have a clear winner or loser. Even this wasn't considered Ning Cheng's loss. Many people suddenly recalled the matter of Ning Cheng and the Pill Association's Cheng Hotian. From the looks of it, Ning Cheng and Cheng Hotian's friendship had affected the association master, Si Chen Chiu Tian. Only a few cultivators who knew Si Chen Chiu Tian's character didn't think so. Lu Shizhen obviously also thought that it was because of Cheng Hotian. Feeling indignant, he no longer wanted to discuss alchemy with Ning Cheng and teach Ning Cheng a lesson. People like Ning Cheng didn't deserve to discuss alchemy with him. He spoke up in a cold voice, "Since Pill Master Ning has stepped into the ranks of the Grand Core realm, can you please refine a furnace of medicinal pills for us without using pill arts?" Ning Cheng's tone also turned cold. "Who do you think you are? Do I want to perform alchemy without using pill arts in front of you? Why should I teach you? Who do you think you are?" Ha! Lu Shizhen laughed out of anger and directly threw out a white Tao sculpting pill sage qualification card. He spoke in a gloomy tone, "Since the rules of the competition are up to me, then take out a Tao sculpting pill sage qualification card. If you don't have one, then you lose and get off the stage." His way of proposing the rules of the competition was a complete form of bullying. However, this bullying method didn't violate the rules of the competition. The Pill Association qualification card was also related to alchemy. Without passing the Pill Association's verification, one couldn't obtain a qualification card at all. Everyone understood Lu Shizhen's thoughts and felt relieved. "Aren't you very powerful? I don't even bother to compete with you in alchemy. I'm a Tao sculpting pill sage, but what about you? Can you take out a Tao sculpting pill sage qualification card to prove that you're a Tao sculpting pill sage? If you can't take it out, then get off the stage. Because you lost." Ning Cheng showed a faint smile. She had turned angry out of shame and started comparing diplomas. No matter what, Lu Shizhen only had one word for it: loss. He didn't even bother to speak and also threw out a white Tao sculpting pill sage qualification card. "You're a Tao sculpting pill sage. Why did you?" Lu Shizhen frowned and looked at the white Tao sculpting pill sage qualification card taken out by Ning Cheng with some doubts. Not waiting for him to finish, Ning Cheng spoke up, "You didn't take it out before, did you? I only need a Tao sculpting pill sage qualification card to enter the fantasy garden. If I enter here, I only need a Tao sculpting pill sage qualification card. Do I have to hang all my alchemy qualification cards on my body? Are you afraid that others won't know that I'm a Tao sculpting pill sage?" Lu Shizhen didn't get angry. Instead, he took out a silver Tao raising pill sage qualification card and didn't speak. He just stared at Ning Cheng. Chapter 983. Ning Cheng didn't bother to talk nonsense and directly took out his Dao Transformation Pill Saint qualification card and threw it out. Pill Master Lu, if you want to compete, then let's compete. Don't compete with diplomas. I have a lot of diplomas, from school to postdoctorate. With that, he waved his hand and threw out 6 qualification cards. Lu Xiuzhen couldn't understand Ning Cheng's words, but he naturally recognized the pale golden Dao Transformation Pill Saint qualification card among the 6 qualification cards because he also had such a card. This was the feeling of shock in silence. Except for a few people, including Lu Xiuzhen, no one knew that Ning Cheng was also a Dao Transformation Pill Saint. The other qualification cards were fine, but the pale golden Dao Transformation Pill Saint qualification card was particularly eye-catching. Now that Ning Cheng had even taken out his Dao Transformation Pill Saint qualification card, he was undoubtedly a Dao Transformation Pill Saint. Even if Cheng Ho Tian and Ning Cheng had a good relationship, he wouldn't dare to casually give Ning Cheng a Dao Transformation Pill Saint qualification card. At this moment, no one dared to look down on Ning Cheng anymore. Even the alchemy theory that Ning Cheng had spouted before had now become real. The few pill masters who had scolded Ning Cheng before also shrunk their heads. Ning Cheng was a Dao sculpting pill deity, so it didn't matter if they scolded him. But Ning Cheng was a Dao Transformation Pill Saint, so they couldn't afford to hold him accountable. Even Lu Jiexing frowned. He didn't expect Ning Cheng to be a Dao Transformation Pill Saint. No wonder Cheng Ho Tian of the Pill Association was so polite to Ning Cheng. It would be strange if such a young Dao Transformation Pill Saint wasn't polite. Ning Cheng was a Dao Transformation Pill Saint, so it was almost certain that Ning Cheng had opened the 13th door of the Illusion Garden. Jing Han's face was gloomy. Ning Cheng was an ordinary Dao sculpting divine emperor. Even if he was a pill deity, it wouldn't matter if he killed him. But if Ning Cheng was a Dao Transformation Pill Saint, his great god Pill sect wouldn't dare to kill him. How many Dao Transformation Pill Saints were there in the Grand Essence realm? Every Dao Transformation Alchemy Saint was equivalent to a big force. The reason why his great god Pill sect dared to say that it would enter the top 10 sects was because of him. Ning Cheng is a rogue cultivator, but he's also a Dao Transformation Pill Saint. Shi Tianhe stared at Ning Cheng in shock, her expression changing. What the 9 revolutions sacred Dao Pond lacked was powerful alchemists. Ning Cheng was a rogue cultivator, but he was also a powerful Dao Transformation Pill Saint. It would have been strange if she hadn't fallen for him. Sitting next to Shi Tianhe was a woman with a few wrinkles on her face. After Ning Cheng took out the Dao Transformation Pill Saint qualification card, she turned to look at Shi Tianhe in confusion. Tianhe, why did my 9 revolution sacred Dao Pond only learn about a rogue cultivator's Dao Transformation Pill Saint now? Shi Tianhe hurriedly bowed and said respectfully, Martial Ant Dai Fu, this person likes to hide his abilities. Even Lu Xiuzhen, who is fighting him on the stage, should not know that he is a Dao Transformation Alchemy Saint, let alone us. The woman named Dai Fu nodded. Shi Tianhe was right. If Yu Su had known that Ning Cheng was a Dao Transformation Pill Saint, he would not have used the Pill Association's qualification card to compete. Tianhe, this person can be invited to my 9 revolution sacred Dao Pond. Even if we have to pay some price, it's, although Martial Ant Dai Fu didn't continue, Shi Tianhe already understood her martial ant's meaning and spoke up respectfully, yes, Martial Ant, I understand. After Grand Essence Sea's Sunken Fish Palace's Tsin Rushuan saw Ning Cheng take out the Dao Transformation Pill Saint qualification card, she secretly thought that she had guessed correctly. Ning Cheng really was a Dao Transformation Pill Saint. Aunt Xian, I understand your painstaking efforts. The woman with a veil on her face sitting next to Tsin Rushuan suddenly spoke up. Tsin Rushuan shook her head. Whether he understood or not, it was useless to say it now. Ning Cheng didn't have the slightest interest in her honey trap. Besides, he already had a stunning beauty by his side. Or I can talk to him after the pill discussion conference ends. The woman with a veil on her face took the initiative to speak up when she saw Tsin Rushuan not speaking. Tsin Rushuan sighed, Yueshu, you don't have to feel wronged. It's useless to talk about it. She had spoken tactfully. In fact, she knew that Ning Cheng wouldn't care about Yueshu, so she had tactfully asked Yueshu not to feel wronged. The woman called Yueshu smiled slightly. I know people like him very well. He swings his position, likes to show off, and is vain. However, he does have some skills. She thought that she knew Ning Cheng very well. Ning Cheng sailed with the wind and changed his face quickly. He also liked to show off. It would be too easy for her to deal with such a person. She was 90% sure that she could make Ning Cheng obediently work for the sunken fish palace without touching her fingers. Two men were sitting next to Percy from the Void Star sect. One was as thin as a skeleton and looked very delicate. The other had a dark face and a pair of very slender eyes hanging under his forehead, which made him look a little uncoordinated. After seeing Ning Cheng take out the Dao Transformation Pill Saint qualification card, the dark-faced man with uncoordinated eyes said in a deep voice, Percy, it seems that you have a good eye. This person is really a Dao Transformation Pill Saint. Percy hurriedly said, Sect Master, Ning Cheng is a very upright person. He and I are compatible, so he agreed to refine elixirs for me. I only hope that even if he fails, Sect Master will not blame him. Otherwise, I will have no face to live. The dark-faced man smiled slightly, don't worry. If he fails, I won't hurt him. He wouldn't hurt him, but he would definitely kill this ant-like alchemy master. The Void Star sect had even lost a Dao Essence Sacred Emperor for the sake of the Sky Extending Bone Pill's main spirit herbs. If Ning Cheng dared to fail, he would have to pay with his life. No matter how much Percy guaranteed, he wouldn't be able to save Ning Cheng's life. Unfortunately, Percy didn't know this. In his opinion, the sect master's words naturally carried enormous weight. In fact, the sect master hadn't lied to him. Ning Cheng didn't know either. Given Ning Cheng's temperament, he would have spat on anyone who dared to threaten him with his life for alchemy. So what if he was the Void Star sect's sect master? If he didn't want to refine, then he wouldn't. The universe is vast, and I don't believe you can find me. Even if he was caught and forced to refine pills, he would do everything possible to tamper with the medicinal pills. Are you also a Dao Transformation Pill Sage? Lu Shizhen no longer looked down on Ning Cheng. Sometimes, people were like this. Looking at some superficial titles, whether it was an immortal or an ordinary person, they all had the same disposition. Ning Cheng put away all the qualification cards and said, the pill conference is meaningless compared to these. Since I want to challenge you, you should come up with some practical questions. I heard that you can come up with 3 questions. As long as I lose one, you win. Now that you've come up with 2 questions, you still have a chance to ask one. Do you want to come up with one? Lu Shizhen took in a deep breath, put away his qualification card, and said to Ning Cheng with a cautious expression, this round, let's compete in alchemy. I'll refine first. If there's anything lacking, I hope Pill Sage Ning can point it out. While speaking, Lu Shizhen raised his hand and brought out a dark red pill furnace. Then, with another wave of his hand, strands of divine grasses floated around him. This was the pill conference's pill conference. If Lu Shizhen wanted to refine a medicinal pill, he naturally had to let others' spiritual consciousnesses see which divine grasses he used. He also had to let others know what medicinal pill he wanted to refine. Dragon Soul Fruit. Using this Dao Transformation Dao Fruit for alchemy. A pill master on the public square recognized the Dao fruit that Lu Shizhen wanted to use and immediately spoke up. This Dao fruit contains a trace of a true dragon's soul sense law. Not only is it clear, but it's also extremely fragile. It's even more difficult to put it into a pill. Pill Sage Lu really has the courage to use this Dao fruit for alchemy. The pill conference public square was filled with alchemy experts. As soon as Lu Shizhen took out the dragon soul fruit, not only did some people recognize it, but some even deciphered the characteristics of the dragon soul fruit. Jing Han also frowned slightly. From the looks of it, Lu Shizhen didn't use his full strength during the pill conference. At least, he couldn't use the dragon soul fruit for now. Wait, Dragon Soul Fruit for alchemy. Lushizhen didn't want to refine the Essence Meridian Crossing Pill, right? Did he have the ability? Void Severing Divine Flower. When he saw the Void Severing Divine Flower, Jing Han's face turned gloomy. At this moment, he was sure that Lushizhen was really going to refine the Essence Meridian Crossing Pill. Since Lushizhen dared to refine the Essence Meridian Crossing Pill, it meant that he was confident. Jing Han had always thought that he was the strongest Dao Transformation Pill sage. Previously, when he was defeated by Do Jiangshi, he was very angry. Now, it seemed that even Lushizhen's alchemy Dao level was above his. It would be strange if he could feel happy after such a series of blows. Void Severing Divine Flower. Pill Sage Lu is actually going to refine the Essence Meridian Crossing Pill. The pill masters on the public square could also see what kind of pill Lushizhen was going to refine. If there were 10 Dao transformation pills that were the most difficult to refine, then the Essence Meridian Crossing Pill would definitely be one of them. This Dao transformation pill required 2 types of spirit herbs of laws. One was the Dao transformation Dao fruit, the Dragon Soul Fruit, and the other was the Void Severing Divine Flower. Among the Dao transformation pills, the most popular one was the Purple Heaven Pill. However, the difficulty of refining the Purple Heaven Pill was probably not even 1/10 that of the Essence Meridian Crossing Pill. The Essence Meridian Crossing Pill was one of the few Dao fruits that could allow sacred emperors below the Dao transformation realm to change their meridians. The Essence Meridian Crossing Pill could remove the stagnant Dao intent in the meridians, expand the meridian's strength, and improve the cultivation Dao foundation. Any pill that could improve the Dao foundation of a sacred emperor was a priceless treasure. Not to mention that the Essence Meridian Crossing Pill could remove the stagnant Dao intent and expand the meridians. It could also increase the chances of some sacred emperors who could not advance to the primordial Dao realm. When Ningqing saw the alchemy spirit herbs that Lushizhen took out, he knew that he was going to refine the Essence Meridian Crossing Pill, which made Ningqing frown. It was not that he could not compare to Lushizhen, but that he could not take out such a precious divine herb. He could refine many Dao transformation pills, but none of them could compare to the Essence Meridian Crossing Pill. It seemed that the Essence Meridian Crossing Pill was Lushizhen's trump card. He had not taken it out before because he had not met an opponent. Thinking of the hard-to-refine Dao transformation pills, Ningqing suddenly thought of Percy. Percy had asked him to refine a furnace of sky-extending bone vein pills. In terms of difficulty, the sky-extending bone vein pill definitely surpassed the Essence Meridian Crossing Pill. If there were 3 Dao transformation pills that were the most difficult to refine, then the sky-extending bone vein pill would definitely be one of them. The problem was that he had not obtained the materials for the sky-extending bone vein pill yet. What should he do? Chapter 984. Soon, everyone was attracted by Lushizhen's alchemy method. Lushizhen's flame was very peculiar, it was black with a trace of white. When Ningqing saw this flame, he immediately understood that Yusu's flame had also stepped into the spirit flame realm. However, this flame should not be as high-leveled as his nameless flame, let alone comparable to the celestial river flame. Strand after strand of divine grasses were thrown into the pill furnace by Lushizhen. At the beginning, there were still some traces, but towards the end, Lushizhen's every move carried a trace of Dao charm aura. Even those who did not know anything about pill concoction could tell that Yusu's pill concoction technique was extremely natural, and was definitely stronger than Do Jiangshi, who took first place. Ningqing secretly praised them in his heart. They truly deserved to be the city master's mansion that controlled the fantasy orchard and had many Dao fruits to practice with. If she had enough primordial Dao fruits to practice, Lushizhen would definitely be a primordial Dao alchemy saint now. This was because Lushizhen was already on the verge of becoming a primordial Dao alchemy saint. No wonder he disdained to participate in the illusion fruit garden. Ningqing had never seen the Dao essence Dao fruits in the illusion fruit garden. From the looks of it, Yusu truly didn't care about those Dao fruits below the Dao essence realm. Of course, another reason was that Lu Jiesheng didn't want to eat too badly. Every time the fantasy fruit garden opened, the city lord's mansion was the biggest winner. Even if Ning Cheng plotted against him this time, Lu Jiexing still managed to obtain nearly 100 Dao fruits from Do Jiangshi. If Lu Shi really participated in the fantasy garden again, a lot of people would probably be jealous. So strong. Sitting next to Percy, the dark-faced man stared intently at Yu Su's movements, his eyes gleaming brightly as he murmured to himself. Then, he turned to look at Percy and asked in a deep voice, "Percy, what do you think about Ning Cheng's attainment in the Tao of alchemy compared to Yu Xiaozhen?" Percy hesitated for a while, before saying, "I can't be sure. This Lu Shi from the City Lord's mansion didn't participate in the fantasy garden, so I don't know his true level of alchemy." The dark-faced man with slender eyes understood Percy's meaning. Percy felt that Ning Cheng was not as serious as Lu Su, but he did not say it out loud. With Lu Shizhen's level of alchemy, she was probably not inferior to Si Chen Qiu Tian. The dark-faced man did not continue asking Percy. Instead, he sent a voice transmission to the skeletal man standing next to him. "Ancestor Kong, with Yu Suzhen's alchemy skills, he should be able to concoct the pill we want, and the success rate is very high. I had some dealings with the Yu clan in the past, so I believe I can get him to help." The skeletal man nodded and did not speak. No matter how low profile Yu Jiexing kept, Yu Xiaozhen's powerful attainment in Dao Core had caused the eyes of many to flicker, and some thoughts began to form in their minds. The illusion orchard had been controlled by the Lu clan for too long. Every dog has its day. It was time for someone else to take control of the illusion orchard. Feeling some spiritual consciousnesses falling on him, Lu Jiexing also felt very helpless. His only thought was to become even more angry with Ning Cheng. If it weren't for Ning Cheng, Yu Su would have acted according to his wishes and kept a low profile. In the end, he would just be an ordinary Dao transformation pill saint. Although this would cause others to be jealous, it wouldn't be like this. Time passed slowly. Everyone was so absorbed in Yu Su's alchemy technique that they completely forgot about the changes in the surrounding time. 2 hours, half a day, when the day was about to pass, Lu Shizhen's hand seals changed from traceable to traceless shadows, and one after another, mysterious pill techniques fell into the pill furnace. The essence meridian transcending pill had yet to come out of the furnace, but after Yu Shizhen's pill techniques fell, a fragrant pill aura spread out from the pill furnace. The essence meridian transcending pill was a top-grade Dao transformation pill. Even the fragrance alone was enough to make everyone feel a trace of difference. Amazing. This pill fragrance shows that the essence meridian transcending pill is not only about to form, but also at least a top-grade pill. Pill Sage Lu must have held back. With this level of alchemy Dao, I'm afraid he's close to a primordial Dao pill saint, right? That goes without saying. If there was a primordial Dao fruit, Pill Sage Lu would have already become a primordial Dao pill saint. As Yu Xiaozhen was about to finish the essence meridian transcending pill, many alchemists immersed in the Dao charm of the alchemy Dao came back to their senses and sighed. The alchemists here were all experts in the grand essence realm's alchemy Dao. Although they could not refine the essence meridian transcending pill, it did not affect their vision. When Qing Ho Tian saw Yu Shizhen's alchemy technique and the Dao charm of the alchemy Dao, he sighed in his heart. Although Ning Cheng's alchemy technique was very strong, he might not necessarily be as strong as Yu Xiaozhen. The only thing he could look forward to was that Ning Cheng's alchemy time would be much shorter than Yu Xiaozhen's. However, the Dao of alchemy did not compare the alchemy time, but the quality of the pill and the difficulty of the pill. Only when two people's pills were exactly the same would the time taken to refine pills be used as a consideration. Ding 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 ding. While everyone was still intoxicated by the pill fragrance and Yu Shizhen's technique, Yu Shizhen pulled out a white shadow from the pill furnace. These shadows fell into a jade plate that Yu Shizhen had already prepared. Like pearls falling into a pot, they made crisp tinkling sounds. 12 milky white pills were scattered on the jade plate. The faint pill fragrance combined with the unique pill fragrance of the essence meridian transcending pill made it look beautiful. Although the pills were not put into the jade bottles, everyone could see the 12 essence meridian transcending pills on the jade plate. 7 top-grade pills, 5 top-grade pills, and no middle-grade or low-grade pills. Good pill. Even Si Chen Chiu Tian couldn't help but praise. Even he couldn't refine such a perfect furnace of essence meridian transcending pills. With Si Chen Chiu Tian's words, the pill discussion public square felt like boiling water, completely conquered by the 12 essence meridian transcending pills. Lu Shizhen placed a pill protecting restriction on the jade plate, before placing the jade plate on the display of the pill discussion platform. She then looked at Ning Cheng and slowly spoke, "Pill Master Ning, I have finished refining the pill. I would like to ask Pill Master Ning to show us an alchemy technique that does not require a pill art." Lu Shizhen himself was also very satisfied. This batch of medicinal pills was completed perfectly while he was holding his breath. Even if he had to refine another furnace of essence meridian transcending pills, he most likely wouldn't be able to refine such perfect pills. He wasn't a person who would willingly admit defeat. The greater the pressure, the more he could display his skills. As for what he said just now, he didn't mean to look down on Ning Cheng. Since Ning Cheng could take out the qualification card of a Dao transformation pill saint, it showed that Ning Cheng's alchemy Dao level definitely couldn't be underestimated. Yu Shizhen knew that apart from his innate sensitivity towards the alchemy Dao, being born in the Yu clan was also a factor that couldn't be ignored. There wasn't a single sect or family clan that could casually take out all sorts of Dao fruits to practice like he did. Therefore, he not only didn't look down on Ning Cheng, but also respected and admired Ning Cheng for being a Dao transformation pill saint. Ning Cheng cupped his fists towards Yu Shizhen and said in a cautious tone, "Pill Master Yu is indeed a powerhouse in the alchemy Dao. Ning Cheng really admires you." Yu Shizhen's ability had also won Ning Cheng's respect. As for Yu Shizhen having many Dao fruits to practice with, that was secondary. Without the understanding of Dao pills, no amount of Dao fruits could cultivate a powerhouse in the alchemy Dao like Yu Shizhen. The fervent voices gradually quieted down, as all the people's gazes fell on Ning Cheng. Yu Shizhen had really succeeded in refining the essence meridian transcending pills. Everyone on the public square wanted to know if Ning Cheng's alchemy Dao level was as good as his mouth. Or was Ning Cheng just a braggart who only knew how to talk but couldn't do it? Ning Cheng took in a deep breath and his eyes fell on Percy. He had already noticed the two men beside Percy. The dark-faced man with slender eyebrows looked like a vast void, and he should be a Dao transformation expert. The other man looked like a skeleton and looked sickly. Although Ning Cheng couldn't tell if this skeleton-like man was the one who had been poisoned, he guessed that he should be. Since these two men came here with Percy, apart from seeing his alchemy Dao level, they also wanted to see if there were any other powerful alchemy masters around. "Brother Percy, I want to borrow some materials for a medicinal pill. I will refine it here today. As for the others, just follow what I said before," Ning Cheng said to Percy while standing on the pill platform. He believed that Percy could understand what he meant. He wanted to help Percy refine the sky-extending bone vein pill here. This way, he could help Percy refine the pill and also defeat Yu Shizhen with the help of the sky-extending bone vein pill. If it were before participating in the fantasy garden, Ning Cheng wouldn't have dared to say such a thing. But now, even if Yu Shizhen refined the essence vein crossing pill, Ning Cheng still felt confident that he could defeat him. In order to refine this furnace of sky-extending bone vein pill, he had secluded himself in the rest stop for 10 days, using various Dao fruits to refine Dao pills every day. One could say that Ning Cheng's alchemy level was on a completely different level compared to Ning Cheng's current alchemy level. Percy felt overjoyed and quickly stood up and said, "Of course, we brought the medicinal pill materials." "Wait." The dark-faced man with slender eyes next to Percy interrupted Percy's words. While Percy was still in shock, he said to Ning Cheng, "Pill Master Ning, the medicinal pill materials that Percy told you about are on the way. They should arrive at Heaven Essence Sacred City soon. At that time, I will have to trouble Pill Master Ning." Percy's expression suddenly turned ugly. The sect master clearly had the materials for the sky-extending bone vein pill, but the sect master said that they were still on the way. Didn't this mean that he didn't want to take out the materials for Ning Cheng to compete? Percy instantly understood that the sect master wanted to ask Yu Shizhen for help in alchemy, which was why he used a delaying method to refuse Ning Cheng. He glanced at the Void Star Sect's old ancestor and opened his mouth. But in the end, he didn't dare to speak. Ning Qing sneered. How could he not see the intentions of this dark-faced and slender-eyed powerhouse? Seeing Yu Shizhen's strength, he wanted Yu Shizhen to refine pills for him. In other words, this was equivalent to a unilateral breach of contract. If it were any other time, Ning Qing wouldn't have gotten angry. But at this time, it was related to whether he would win or lose the challenge. This fellow from the Void Star Sect did such a thing, which made him feel very unhappy. This senior, I should be in the best state right now. If I can take out the medicinal pill materials that Percy mentioned, I believe that I have a good chance of winning. But after the pill discussion, I'm afraid that I won't dare to refine such a pill. Ning Qing spoke with cupped fists. His meaning was clear. If he wanted him to refine the sky-extending bone vein pill, then he would have to take out the materials now. Otherwise, don't come looking for him in the future. You don't even want to help me with this, yet you want me to help you refine the sky-extending bone vein pill? Chapter 985. The dark-faced man, addressed as Sect Master by Percy, spoke up coldly, Pill Master Ning, are you threatening me? Ning Qing spoke up calmly, I wouldn't dare. It was my fault for what I said just now, and I apologize to Senior. Senior, please be magnanimous and forget about what I said just now. After saying that, Ning Qing no longer looked at the dark-faced man. When the Void Star Sect refused the heaven-replenishing bone vein pill, he had blacklisted them. He believed that Percy could understand the meaning of his words. That is, the matter of him refining the heaven-replenishing bone vein pill for your Void Star Sect is equivalent to not mentioning it again. The dark-faced man gave a cold snort. If this wasn't the pill discussion conference, he would have already slapped Ning Qing to ashes for daring to talk to him like this. Percy sighed. He didn't have a deep relationship with Ning Qing, but he felt that Ning Qing was a friend worth associating with. He also understood Ning Qing's temperament. If he wanted to take advantage of Ning Qing and not eat even the slightest loss, he would have to give up on this idea as soon as possible. On the contrary, if he was willing to eat some losses, he would gain more. Ning Qing was not the kind of person who treated his friends badly. Ning Qing didn't even care about Man Huishan and Lu Jiesheng, so he naturally wouldn't kneel down and beg the Void Star Sect. What's more, the Void Star Sect was the one asking him for alchemy, not the other way around. At this time, everyone in the square understood that Ning Qing wanted to borrow the alchemy materials from the Void Star Sect to challenge Lu Shizhen. Listening to Ning Qing's tone, this matter had already been agreed upon before, but for some reason, the Void Star Sect suddenly reneged and didn't want to lend it to him for the time being. Pill Sage Lu has already finished refining a furnace of foundation pulse-crossing pills. Alchemist Ning challenged him, so why hasn't he started refining the pills yet? A man sitting next to Qing Hotian suddenly asked in a disdainful tone. He even addressed Lu Shizhen as Pill Sage, while addressing Ning Qing as Pill Master. Most likely, Ning Qing had a suspicious origin as a Pill Sage. When Ning Qing saw Qing Hotian frown, he immediately understood that this person had a poor relationship with Qing Hotian in the pill gathering. This Dao friend, does the challenge limit the time I can refine pills? Ning Qing asked in confusion. There is no time limit, but does Pill Master Ning have to stand on the pill platform all the time? Alchemist Ning might have the time to waste like this, but we don't have the time to waste with you. Ning Qing cupped his fists towards Sichen Qiu Tian, and then cupped his fists towards the rest in the square. And said, Pill Sage Lu has to refine pills for a day. Ning Qing cupped his fists towards Sichen Qiu Tian before cupping his fists towards the rest of the people on the public square. Just now, Pill Sage Lu gave me a day's time to refine the pill. If I can't refine the pill within a day, then I'll consider it my loss. With Ning Cheng's words, the man could only shut up and not speak. Chen, Cheng, and the Tian, and Pill Man couldn't Cheng. Sage, Cheng. Sage, and Cheng, Ning, Dao Ning, and Master. And I, Mo, I, Ning, I, Dao, Pill, I, and Pill Sage Lu has just refined a furnace of essence meridian crossing pills. Although I have Dao fruits, I don't have anything more difficult to refine than the essence meridian crossing pill. Even if I were to refine the most difficult pill I have, I would only be on par with Pill Saint Lu at most. Before Ning Cheng could finish, he was interrupted by a sneer from the square. Tai. Although Pill Sage Ning has the Dao Transformation Pill Sage qualification token, you can't speak carelessly. Even Dao Transformation Pill Sages are divided into several grades. The Dao of Alchemy needs to be cautious. Pill Sage Ning is also someone who pursues the Dao of Alchemy. I hope that Pill Sage Ning can refine a Tide pill before saying this. Ning Cheng was too lazy to argue with this person, and continued to speak. All the Dao friends present here, today I promise that as long as someone can provide the materials for the pill that is even more difficult to refine than the essence crossing vein pill, and is willing to refine it for me, then I am willing to refine it for you for free. The pill discussion square turned silent, and no one spoke. If Ning Cheng had said that it was an ordinary Dao transformation pill, someone would have already taken it out and asked Ning Cheng to help refine it. However, the Dao transformation pill that was more difficult to refine than the essence meridian crossing pill, apart from a few, was the primordial Dao pill. Not to mention the primordial Dao pill, even if there were only a few of them, which pill's materials weren't heaven-defying. Which kind of elixir's ingredients didn't require untold hardships to gather. Only an idiot would take out such a precious material for you to practice with in a competition. Percy looked at the sect master again. Not to mention that he had promised Ning Cheng, just because he and Ning Cheng were friends, he should have taken out the sky-extending vein bone pill for Ning Cheng to refine. However, the sect master didn't take out the materials, leaving Ning Cheng in an awkward situation with no pills to refine on the pill platform. He wouldn't have the face to see Ning Cheng in the future. Yan Ji clenched her fists. She hated that she didn't have any precious materials for Ning Cheng to refine pills on the pill platform. Cheng Hotian also felt helpless. He did have the divine herbs for such pills, but he was the host of the pill discussion square. However, he was the one who presided over the pill discussion, and some people had already said that he was faking it for Ning Cheng. If he took out such alchemy materials to help Ning Cheng, then even if Ning Cheng won, people would start talking behind his back. Ning Cheng sighed in his heart. Ning Cheng didn't believe that no one in this square could come up with materials more difficult to refine than the essence meridian transcending pill. All the geniuses of the alchemy Dao in the grand essence realm and the sect masters of the major sects were gathered here. Moreover, these people came here to participate in the pill discussion grand assembly. What pill materials couldn't they have? The reason why they hadn't taken them out until now wasn't that they couldn't take out the materials, but that no one was willing to believe Ning Cheng. After all, the value of such materials was hard to estimate. After waiting for half an incense stick of time, Ning Cheng decided to refine the Silent Dust Reincarnation Pill. The main divine herbs for the Silent Dust Reincarnation Pill were the Dao Transformation Dao Fruit, the Silent Dust Dao Pill, and the Reincarnation Tears. In terms of difficulty, it wasn't as difficult as the Essence Meridian Transcending Pill. However, it was one of the most difficult Dao transformation pills to refine. Ning Cheng had no choice but to choose the Silent Dust Reincarnation Pill. The most difficult Dao transformation pill to refine was the Silent Dust Reincarnation Pill. In the pill discussion grand assembly, even if one's alchemy Dao level was higher than others, one still had to admit defeat. Not for anything else, but because one couldn't take out the materials. Pill Master Ning, I have a furnace of materials. I'm afraid that you won't dare to refine it. Ning Cheng had just turned around when a sudden voice came from the pill discussion public square. Ning Cheng looked back and saw the person who spoke. It was a silver-haired young man with a somewhat demonic look. However, Ning Cheng quickly understood why this silver-haired man was willing to take out the alchemy materials to help him. It was because Ning Cheng knew the silver-haired woman next to this silver-haired man. She was the woman who Manjuran had forced to go to the mysterious Yellow Starland and ended up chained to the top of Sacred Light City's 9 Emperor Peak by Manjuran. Ning Cheng had saved her life at that time. Therefore, this silver-haired man said that he had the alchemy materials because of this silver-haired woman. Sure enough, seeing Ning Cheng look over, the silver-haired woman smiled and nodded to Ning Cheng but didn't speak. Ning Cheng also nodded to her before turning to the silver-haired man and saying, "As long as you can take it out, I dare to refine it. If I break it, I'm afraid I won't be able to compensate you for the time being." Ha! The silver-haired man laughed. "Since you dare to refine it, then I'll take it out for you to refine. As for compensation, forget it. I'm afraid you can't afford it. If it breaks, then I, Gong Huayu, will take it." All eyes on the public square focused on this silver-haired man. Ning Cheng was also a Tao transformation pill saint. Not to mention the wealth he had before, just the income from the fantasy orchard alone made him richer than most pill masters. This silver-haired man named Gong Huayu spoke with such a big tone, saying that Ning Cheng couldn't afford it. At this moment, everyone wanted to know what kind of medicinal pill Gong Huayu wanted Ning Cheng to refine. "I want you to refine the 6-yin soul pill." The word 6-yin soul pill felt like a big hand strangling people's necks. After it was thrown out, it instantly suffocated the entire pill discussion public square. Even Ning Cheng found it hard to believe. He did know about the 6-yin soul pill. Moreover, he had specifically looked into this medicinal pill and knew its pill recipe. Not only that, but he also found the pill recipe for the 6-yin soul pill in the furnace. The 6-yin soul pill in the furnace was slightly different from the 6-yin soul pill in the outside world. However, Ning Cheng believed that the 6-yin soul pill in the furnace was more accurate. Whether it was the 6-yin soul pill in the furnace or the 6-yin soul pill that Ning Cheng found outside, there were 3 main divine grasses. In addition, there were nearly 200 auxiliary divine grasses. The first of the 3 main divine grasses was the 6-yin fruit. The 6-yin fruit was a Tao fruit that contained a higher level of heaven and earth laws. If one had to classify it, it should be classified as a primordial Tao law divine grass. In other words, the 6-yin soul pill was a primordial Tao pill. The minimum requirement for refining a primordial Tao pill was to be a primordial Tao pill saint. However, Ning Cheng was just a Tao transformation pill saint. In addition, the 6-yin soul pill also contained 2 kinds of nomological divine grasses. One was the 9-turn soul grass and the other was the forget sorrow flower. These 2 kinds of nomological divine grasses were both at the Tao transformation level. Because of this, the 6-yin soul pill was even more difficult to refine. Even among the primordial Tao pills, the 6-yin soul pill was considered difficult to refine. The sky extending pattern bone pill couldn't compare to it at all, let alone the essence meridian crossing pill. If one had to compare the essence meridian crossing pill with the 6-yin soul pill, it would only be a comparison between a child and an adult. The 6-yin soul pill also had another characteristic, that is, it had a full pill size of 6, not 12. The reason why Ning Cheng looked for the 6-yin soul pill was that it could bring the dead back to life. In fact, even in the true cultivation world and the starry sky, it was very difficult to bring the dead back to life. This kind of resurrection didn't happen when one's essence spirit was still present, but when one's essence spirit was shattered and one's soul dissipated. The 6-yin soul pill could allow people below the primordial Tao realm to have a 40% chance of regathering their soul after their essence spirit was shattered and their soul dissipated. The prerequisite was that one's physical body must exist. Otherwise, it would be meaningless. Chapter 986. The reason why Ning Cheng was looking for the 6-yin soul pill was because of Sun Hanrui. Sun Hanrui was his friend, but she also died because of him. After Sun Hanrui fell, Ning Cheng took her body with him. It's just that he didn't have the ability to revive Sun Hanrui. When he was in the starry sky, he heard that to find Sun Hanrui's soul, he had to go to the underworld realm. However, his strength was far from enough to go to the underworld realm. The 6-yin soul pill was a Tao essence pill that Ning Cheng came to know about after coming to the grand essence realm. You want me to refine the 6-yin soul pill? Ning Cheng even looked at Gong Huayu with some excitement. He knew that he couldn't get the materials for the 6-yin soul pill, which made him give up on the idea. However, he didn't expect Gong Huayu to be so generous and take out the materials for the 6-yin soul pill for him to refine. Although Ning Qing knew that Gong Huayu might have saved the silver-haired woman because of him, Ning Qing still felt grateful. Did I hear it wrong? 6-yin soul pill. Dao essence Dao pill. It must be a mistake. The materials for the 6-yin soul pill are precious. Even the top 10 sects might not be able to come up with them, right? That Gong Huayu is the young sect master of the Grand S&C's Silver Dragon sect, one of the top 10 sections. The Dao discussion public square reacted like someone had thrown a tofu into a pot of hot oil. Just when others still doubted Gong Huayu's words, Gong Huayu spoke with certainty. Yes, I want you to refine the 6-yin soul pill. The materials for this pill have been in my Grand S&C's Silver Dragon clan for many years, but they haven't been able to turn into medicinal pills. I think that even after so many years, I'm afraid that they wouldn't be able to turn into medicinal pills. So, I might as well help you today. Everyone understood that Gong Huayu was just speaking out of politeness. This pill material, even if it couldn't be turned into medicinal pills, was still invaluable. Even if it was put up for auction, there would still be crowds of people competing for it. Gong Huayu wasn't an idiot, so why would he take out such precious pill materials? He obviously wanted to win Ning Qing over. After all, Ning Qing was a Dao transformation pill saint. If such a person could be roped in with a set of Dao transformation pill materials, it would not be a loss. However, using primordial Dao pill materials to rope him in seemed a little overboard. Some people who had Dao transformation Dao pill materials, which were more difficult to refine than the Essence Meridian Crossing pill, felt some regret in their hearts. They hadn't thought of taking out the materials to win over Ning Qing. Even if Ning Qing ruined the materials for the pill, so what? It was definitely worth it to rope in a Dao transformation alchemy saint. Grand S&C's Tsun Rushuan sighed and said, "This Silver Dragon clan's junior palace master is truly bold. He even dared to take out the materials for the 6-yin soul pill. My ideas seem to be a little worse than his." She had only thought of using beautiful women to win over Ning Qing, but had never thought of using medicinal pills and materials to win him over. If she had known that such a thing would happen in the alchemy discussion conference, she would have tried everything to take out a set of Dao transformation elixir materials that were even more difficult to refine than the Essence Meridian Crossing pill to rope Ning Qing in. Looking at that Gong Qianyu and Ning Qing flirting with each other, Gong Huayu really is an idiot. Maybe the two of them made him a cuckold, yet he still took out the 6-yin soul pill to give to Ning Qing. The woman with a veil over her face next to Tsun Rushuan gave a snort and spoke in an extremely low voice. Tsun Rushuan frowned and spoke with a slightly stern tone, "Don't say such things in the future." Although she reprimanded Yueshu, she still sighed in her heart. Yueshu was a cultivation genius, but she stayed in seclusion all year round, which made her Dao very weak. Moreover, her worldly wisdom couldn't compare to Zhongmeng Yuxiu, whose cultivation was far lower than hers. Ning Qing bowed to Gong Huayu and cupped his fists. "Many thanks, Brother Gong. Regardless of anything else, I, Ning Qing, owe you a favor." Gong Huayu came out and handed a ring to Ning Qing with a smile. "Then I wish you success." Ning Qing put away the ring and spoke again, "Brother Gong, I have a presumptuous request. If the 6-yin soul pill succeeds, I would like to ask Brother Gong for one." Gong Huayu laughed, "Let's follow the normal market. If the pill succeeds, we'll split it in half. If it doesn't, then forget it." Ning Qing nodded and didn't refuse. Since Gong Huayu said so, he didn't have to refuse. He was a Dao transformation pill saint, and Gong Huayu would definitely need his help in the future. Seeing Ning Qing walk back with Gong Huayu's ring, Yu Shizhen looked at Ning Qing in disbelief. "Pill Master Ning, do you want to refine the 6-yin soul pill?" Not to mention Yu Shizhen, everyone, including Si Chen and Qiu Tian, couldn't believe it. Gong Huayu took out the 6-yin soul pill for Ning Qing. Apparently, he didn't want the materials for the pill. He just wanted to make friends with Ning Cheng, but if Ning Cheng really wanted to refine the 6 soul pill, then it was a completely different matter. No way. He really dares to refine it? Naturally. Didn't you see him take out a pill furnace? If the second union head hadn't only given out a Dao Transformation Pill Saint qualification card, maybe he could have taken out a Primordial Dao Pill Saint qualification card. Don't talk nonsense. Watch your mouth. No matter how the people on the square talked, Ning Cheng still used the no furnace. This time, he didn't use the fake primordial first furnace but chose to use the no furnace. After refining the no furnace, it had already become the size of an ordinary pill furnace. After using the no furnace, Ning Cheng looked at Yu Shizhen. Yes, I really want to refine the 6 soul pill. No furnace. Si Chen Chiu Tian looked at the pill furnace Ning Cheng took out in amazement. Not many people knew about Ning Cheng's pill furnace, but he happened to know it. The original name of the no furnace was not no furnace, but black and white pill furnace. It was the pill furnace used by the black-white old man for alchemy because no one could compare to him in alchemy. As long as he brought out the black-white pill furnace, no one in the world could compare to him. Therefore, people later said that when black and white appeared, there was no furnace in the world. In the end, the black-white old man simply changed his pill furnace to no furnace. After the black-white old man disappeared, this pill furnace was passed down to his disciple, Min. After Min's death, this pill furnace disappeared. No one expected that this pill furnace would fall into Ning Cheng's hands. Si Chen Chiu Tian's eyes suddenly flashed with a hint of eagerness, but this eagerness soon dissipated. All spiritual objects in the world would recognize a master. Since Ning Cheng obtained the no furnace, it meant that the no furnace had already recognized Ning Cheng. Even if he forcibly snatched it, it would no longer be the same as no furnace. What's more, he wouldn't go so far as to start a fight with a junior over a furnace. Ning Cheng had already sat within the pill platform's restrictions and raised his hand to take out hundreds of divine grasses. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness wrapped around the 6 fruit, 9 turn soul grass, and forget sorrow flower. At this moment, everyone's eyes in the entire pill discussion public square focused on Ning Cheng. Regardless of whether Ning Cheng could successfully refine the 6 soul pill or not, it was a great thing to see a pill sage refine the 6 soul pill. Ning Cheng didn't throw any of the divine grasses into the pill furnace. Instead, his starry sky sea of consciousness completely enveloped the divine grasses. The reason why he dared to refine the 6 soul pill, apart from his understanding of laws far surpassing ordinary pill sages, was that he desperately wanted to help Sun Hanrui. Previously, during the Dao sculpting pill sage assessment, he failed the first furnace. But this time, he couldn't afford to fail the primordial Dao pill refinement. Although he failed the Dao sculpting pill sage assessment, it didn't have a particularly big impact on Ning Cheng. After all, he had successfully refined the Dao sculpting spirit pill. Therefore, when he refined the falling scar pill, his speed was very fast. But not now. Not to mention that he only had 1 furnace's worth of materials for the 6 soul pill. Once he failed, he didn't know when he would be able to help Sun Hanrui. Among the Dao transformation pill sages, Ning Cheng wasn't any weaker than Lu Shizhen. Therefore, for Ning Cheng, advancing to the primordial Dao pill sage was just a step away. But this step was much more difficult for Ning Cheng compared to Lu Shizhen. Because Lu Shizhen had reached the full circle of Dao transformation realm and was already at the door of the primordial Dao realm. But Ning Cheng only had the cultivation of a Dao sculpting holy emperor, which was still a long way from reaching the primordial Dao realm. Refining the primordial Dao pill wasn't only related to one's alchemy Dao level, but also to one's comprehension of the heavenly Dao. Simply put, it was related to one's cultivation. The mysterious yellow formless started operating. At this moment, Ning Cheng had already forgotten that he was still refining pills and competing in the alchemy Dao competition. When Bihanyuan discussed the alchemy Dao, Ning Cheng had fallen into an epiphany about his heavenly Dao. Because this was the alchemy conference, he didn't have the opportunity to go into seclusion to consolidate his heavenly Dao comprehension. But now that he wanted to refine the 6 soul pill, in addition to the alchemy Dao's Dao charm, his grand Dao's Dao charm was also gradually fusing with the 3 kinds of nomological divine grasses. The Dao charm of heaven and earth laws around Ningqing grew denser and denser. Although Ningqing hadn't started yet, the resonance caused by Ningqing had already surpassed that of Lushizhen. At this moment, in everyone's eyes, it felt as if they were in a green universe. There were countless plants and creatures in this world. These creatures and plants had experienced sorrow and joy, wind and rain, thunder and lightning, and had experienced the waxing and waning of the seasons. They began to wither, and this green world also began to become desolate. Slowly, the vitality of this world gradually dissipated, and the world also began to collapse. Finally, it turned into fragments. These fragments gathered with the countless fragments in space and then merged into one. This seemed to be demonstrating the origin of the world, and then slowly returning this process to the chaos of the universe. Whether it was the guests or the alchemy masters, everyone was immersed in Ningqiang's Dao charm of returning. Even some second-step Dao confirming holy emperors were shocked by Ningqiang's majestic and vigorous Dao charm aura, and they even began to slowly be affected. Unfortunately, the place where Ningqing refined pills was completely blocked by restrictions. They could only feel it and couldn't use their spiritual consciousness to investigate it. Otherwise, no one knew how many spiritual consciousnesses would have tried to investigate Ningqiang's grand Dao's Dao charm. Time passed slowly, and Ningqiang's stipulated time of 1 day had long since passed. Even 10 days had quietly passed. At this moment, no one raised any objections. Even Yan Ji, who couldn't cultivate, was immersed in Ningqiang's Dao charm of returning. The Dao charm of returning continued to circle Ningqiang's consciousness. My Dao, the world is the same, but the path is different. No roots, no stems, no leaves, no glory. All things are born, all things are formed, my Dao is formed. The Dao charm that sounded like the morning bell and evening drum constantly bombarded Ningqiang's consciousness. Ningqiang had a feeling that once his Dao charm world once again grew from its desolate rootless, leafless, and lush state, his Dao would truly reach small success. The Dao of alchemy was also one of the Daos. The Daoist rhythm of the 6 fruit was far beyond his understanding. In the end, it was just a Dao of the rules of heaven and earth. In his great Dao of returning to one, he could always find this rule of heaven and earth. No matter how strong they would not be able to surpass his great Dao. 9 twists soulgrass, melancholy flower. They were just ordinary God spirit herbs. He had already caught them in his Dao runes. Fuse the 6 fruit with my Dao of returning to one. The 6 fruit was placed into the furnace. Fuse the 9 turn soul grass with my Dao of returning to one. The 9 turn soul grass entered the furnace. Using my Dao of returning to one, fuse with the flower of forgetfulness. The carefree flower entered the furnace. With my Dao of returning to one, fuse with the 6 soul pill. With the rise of the Daoist charm, the birth of Dan charm. Chapter 987. As the divine grasses fell into the pill furnace, Ningqiang's Dao charm began to gather and then slowly merged with the medicinal pills in the pill furnace. What a powerful Dao! Some cultivators, who had sobered up because of Ningqiang's Dao charm, felt secretly shocked. When Ningqiang condensed the primordial Dao core, what he released was just the tip of the iceberg of his Dao. Even this tip of the iceberg made many sage emperors sink into enlightenment. From this, it could be seen that Ningqiang's Dao was definitely not a trivial matter. Yu Shizhen looked at Ningqiang's alchemy technique and felt even more horrified. Ningqiang really did not have a fixed pill technique. Occasionally, a few handprints similar to pill techniques would fall into the pill furnace. Yu Shizhen quickly determined that it was not a pill technique, but he did not dare to think about it because he was closer to Ningqiang on the pill platform and could feel it more deeply. The reason why he did not dare to think about it was because he felt that Ningqiang's handprints contained some law aura. Even Situ Chen and Qiu Tian would not dare to put the law aura of heaven and earth into the pill furnace, right? Yet, Ningqiang actually integrated the law aura into the pill furnace. Were these his own laws, or the laws of heaven and earth that he comprehended? Or was it the law aura of the 6 fruit? Yu Shizhen did not completely guess it right, but he had guessed some clues. Ning Cheng had indeed captured the faint law aura of the 6 fruit, which was far higher than his current understanding of the Tao of returning to one. With his current ability in the Tao of alchemy, he absolutely could not integrate the Tao fruit law of the 6 fruit into the 6 soul pill. Because of this, Ning Cheng began to use his Tao to capture the Tao fruit law of the 6 fruit. 10 days later, his understanding of the Tao of returning to one improved further, and he also captured the law aura of the 6 fruit in the universe of returning to one. Previously, that alchemy master wanted to pick on Ning Cheng, but at least he was right about one thing. The Tao of alchemy should be cautious and not have a speck of dust. After 10 days and 10 nights of enlightenment, Ning Cheng integrated all the divine grasses, including the 6 fruit, into the pill furnace. 10 days and 10 nights of enlightenment of the Tao, 10 days and 10 nights of law Tao aura capture. Ning Cheng thought that since he had captured the law aura of the 6 fruit in the Tao of returning to one, he should be able to integrate this law Tao fruit far beyond his current ability into the 6 soul pill. The Tao of alchemy had no should, much less possible. Success was success, failure was failure. Although Ning Cheng managed to capture the Tao fruit laws of the 6 fruit, he couldn't keep this Tao fruit laws. It wasn't that his understanding wasn't enough, it wasn't that his alchemy level wasn't high enough, it was that his strength wasn't high enough. Perhaps after refining a dozen more cauldrons of primordial Tao pills, he would be able to perfectly refine the 6 soul pill. Perhaps if his cultivation level advanced a little, he would also be able to refine the 6 soul pill. But now, he couldn't. Feeling the 6 fruit's law aura gradually dissipating, Ning Cheng felt a burst of sadness in his heart. He had tried his best. In order to save Sun Hanrui, he had spent 10 days and 10 nights in an epiphany of the Grand Tao. He had even tried to find the aura of the 6 fruit within his Grand Tao of returning to one. He didn't even hesitate to let others see the tip of the iceberg of his Tao. He didn't even hesitate to lose this competition. He would still fail. This was because it was beyond his ability. He did not have the ability to refine a perfect primordial Tao pill. The pill fragrance was rolling in the furnace, and the white flame under the furnace was like the flying snow in June. The Tao charm around Ning Cheng's body became even thinner. Although he was still working hard, his heart had already turned decadent. No one could feel the changes in Ning Cheng's pill furnace, except for Si Chen Chiu Tian. Si Chen Chiu Tian gave out a long sigh in his heart. Ning Cheng was definitely the most talented alchemy genius he had ever seen. He was sure that this was Ning Cheng's first time refining a primordial Tao pill. An alchemy master refining a primordial Tao pill for the first time had almost left behind the 6 fruit's law Tao charm and integrated it into the pill. With this alone, no one in the entire Grand Essence realm could compare to him. Not even he could compare. Unfortunately, if Si Chen Chiu Tian had known about this, he would have definitely taken out a few cauldrons of primordial Tao pills for Ning Cheng to practice on. The Tao of alchemy was also one of the Taos. If Ning Cheng failed this time, his Tao heart would most likely suffer a backlash. Not only would his Tao heart be affected, but even his Tao heart would most likely be affected. For alchemy masters, failure and failure are common. Alchemy Master Ning doesn't have to worry about it. Si Chen Chiu Tian finally couldn't help but send a sound transmission to Ning Cheng. If there was anyone here who could send a sound transmission into Ning Cheng's alchemy restrictions, he was the only one. He really didn't want Ning Cheng to fall because of this cauldron of medicinal pills. He really didn't want to see an alchemy genius fall. Not to mention the Tao of alchemy, Ning Cheng's Tao alone was much stronger than his Tao. Ning Cheng's heart shook, and he immediately sobered up from his own world. If it were any other medicinal pill, it wouldn't matter much. But this was the 6 soul pill. Once he advanced to the Tao Essence Pill Saint Realm, wouldn't he be able to obtain the materials for the 6 soul pill? Or, even if he obtained the materials, how many years would that take? It didn't matter if he lost. He didn't need the top grade wood origin spirit vein. But what about Sun Hunrui? Even the 6-in soul pill couldn't drag it out for too long. But Sun Hunrui had dragged it out long enough. Laws. What could he use to gather his laws again and condense them into the 6-in soul pill? His understanding of the laws of heaven and earth? But it was too late. He couldn't cultivate for a few years before refining this cauldron of medicinal pills. Yes, he still had half a bestowing lawless fruit. It was a Tao fruit that devoured the laws of heaven and earth but didn't have any laws. Bestowing lawless fruit didn't have any laws, but it didn't mean that it had nothing to do with laws. If it had nothing to do with laws, he wouldn't have been able to comprehend a law-breaking spirit technique through the bestowing lawless fruit. Because Ning Cheng had comprehended half a bestowing lawless fruit, he understood that this kind of fruit could not only absorb and devour the laws of heaven and earth, but it could also bind the laws. Not to mention the Tao fruit laws of a mere 6-in fruit. Even 100 sets of 6-in soul pills materials combined might not be as precious as the bestowing lawless fruit. After Ning Cheng thought of the bestowing lawless fruit, he didn't even think about it. He directly took out the bestowing lawless fruit and threw it into the pill furnace. No one knew what kind of divine grass Ning Cheng threw into the pill furnace. But everyone just stared at Ning Cheng in amazement. Even those who didn't understand alchemy couldn't help but feel puzzled. What did it mean to add a divine grass when all the divine grasses had fused and all the impurities had been extracted? In just a few moments, the rich aura of the laws of heaven and earth once again surrounded the pill furnace. Ning Cheng didn't even need to exert any effort to completely bind the Tao fruit laws of the 6-in fruit and integrate it into the 6-in soul pill. Ning Cheng even suspected that even if an ordinary Tao sculpting pill deity came here to refine the 6-in soul pill, he could still succeed as long as he had this bestowing lawless fruit. Soon, Ning Cheng's mind completely immersed within the laws, and he could clearly capture the laws of heaven and earth. Then, he also captured the aura that suppressed and devoured the laws of heaven and earth. It was also a kind of law. To be precise, it was a kind of anti-law because its existence suppressed the aura of the laws of heaven and earth. This was the Tao charm of breaking laws. If Ning Cheng hadn't remembered that he was still refining the 6-in soul pill, he would have fallen into a second law-breaking epiphany. Ning Cheng didn't fall into the law-breaking epiphany, but the many holy emperors watching Ning Cheng's alchemy felt shocked by the clear laws of heaven and earth. They even felt a trace of the Tao charm aura that suppressed the laws of heaven and earth. This was, unfortunately, their spiritual consciousnesses couldn't penetrate Ning Cheng's alchemy restrictions. Although they knew that this aura was extraordinary, they couldn't really comprehend it. Breaking laws was naturally extraordinary. If breaking laws were ordinary, then not many powerhouses would go to the land of broken laws to comprehend this law-breaking spirit technique. As the aura of laws within the pill furnace grew fainter and fainter, the pill charm within the pill furnace grew clearer and clearer. Another 2 days passed, and the fragrance from the pill furnace spread out. The fragrance also contained a faint trace of blood aura. Everyone stared at Ning Cheng's furnace with wide eyes. The pill fragrance of the 6-in soul pill is coming out. It contains pill charm and blood aura. Is this the 6-in soul pill about to form? I also felt the aura of the universe returning to one from this pill charm. Did Ning Cheng really succeed in refining the primordial Tao pill? Did he even integrate his own Tao charm? Even though Ning Cheng had used half a month to refine the pill, everyone still felt shocked by Ning Cheng. As long as one was in the Grand Essence realm, everyone knew that Situ Chin Chiu Tian was a primordial Tao pill saint. But no one had ever seen Situ Chin Chiu Tian refine a Tao pill. Moreover, he never refined pills for others. But now, Ning Cheng had refined the primordial Tao pill under everyone's noses. Moreover, it was the 6-in soul pill. At this moment, no one cared about whether Ning Cheng won or lost. Everyone just stared at Ning Cheng. It seemed that Ning Cheng was more attractive than the furnace of 6-in soul pill because Ning Cheng was a primordial Tao pill saint. Bursts of crisp pill sounds rang out from the pill furnace, and a rumbling sound seemed to come from above the pill discussion public square. Is this a pill tribulation? A Tao sculpting pill saint looked up at the sky above the public square in disbelief. This public square was an indoor public square. Because of the restrictions, no one could see what was happening outside. A medicinal pill at the level of the primordial Tao pill shouldn't cause a pill tribulation. What's more, even if it causes a pill tribulation and the grand essence realm's laws to shatter, it shouldn't cause a lightning strike. Then the rumbling thunder outside. Some alchemists started talking as they looked at the medicinal pill in Ning Cheng's pill furnace in disbelief. Situ Chin Chiu Tian stood up in amazement. A primordial Tao pill causing a pill art? Stop joking around. Not to mention the grand essence realm shattering. Even if the grand essence realm's laws were intact, a mere 6-yin soul pill wouldn't cause a pill tribulation. Even if an eternal cultivator reached the Tao confirming realm or a Tao sculpting holy emperor, they wouldn't be able to trigger a thunder tribulation due to the shattering of the laws, let alone a small pill. The only possibility was that Ning Cheng had added a divine grass to the pill furnace. But what was that? Ning Cheng also looked up in shock. He knew that because the grand essence realm's laws had shattered, there wouldn't be a thunder tribulation when one reached the Tao confirming realm. How could he trigger a pill tribulation when refining a small 6-yin soul pill? That's right, it wasn't his 6-yin soul pill, but the heaven-defying bestowing lawless fruit. Boom boom boom. 6 powerful lightning arcs blasted through the public square's restrictions and fell directly towards the pill furnace.